It is November 24th, 2025 at 7:37 p.m. and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Lisle Community Unit School District 202 Board of Education. Could we please have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Novosel? Present. Mr. Nagler?
Present.
Mr. Helderly?
Present.
Ms. Foster?
Present.
Ms. DiDomenico?
Present.
Ms. Sims is present, and Ms. Allman.
Present. Thank you. Could we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we proceeding with the agenda, I would like to take just a moment to acknowledge the sadness and the difficult experience in the district this month with the death of a beloved elementary teacher, Nicole Nelson. Teaching in District 202 for the past 27 years, Nicole made an indelible mark on all of our learning community, and she leaves a wonderful legacy of love, learning, and laughter. So at this time, I ask if you would please join me in a moment of silence to honor Mrs. Nelson and her family, both at home and at Lisle Elementary. Thank you. Next on our agenda is a reading of our mission statement, and the Lisle 202 mission statement is to provide our learning community with the essential education, skills, and experiences for future success. So we'll keep those thoughts in mind as we meet this evening. Next, we have public comment. Anyone in the audience for public comment? I think they'll be commenting soon. Did we have anything uploaded? Okay, thank you. Okay, so that brings us to our action item. Before we begin, is there anything anyone would like to have pulled from the action item?
Can you pull 5A5, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do you want to discuss 5A5, which is the tentative 2025 real estate tax levy, which we just discussed previously in our finance meeting?
No, just separate vote.
Okay, just for a separate vote, no comments. Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, 5A1, board meeting minutes, 5A2, payroll pay orders, 5A3, vendor pay orders, 5A4, personnel, 5A4A, rescinding of a classified retirement request, 5A4B, certified leave, 5A4C, classified retirement, 5A4D, extra duty employment, 5A6, audited fiscal year 2025 financial statements, and 5A7, FY 2026 school maintenance project grant. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved. Second.
And could we please have a roll call?
Mr. Helderly?
Aye.
Mr. Nagler?
Aye.
Ms. DiDomenico?
Aye.
Ms. Foster?
Aye.
Ms. Novosel?
Aye.
Ms. Sims is an aye, and Ms. Allman.
Aye. Thank you. Which brings us back to item 5A5, which is the tentative 2025 real estate tax levy. There was no discussion. You just wanted a separate vote on that. So let me, that's a separate motion then. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the FY 2026, the tentative FY 2025 real estate tax levy. There is no specific motion on it, but it is the tax levy as presented in the packet. So I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, no, we'll do a
we'll
roll
do a
call,
roll.
please.
Okay. Ms. DiDomenico?
Aye.
Mr. Helderly?
Aye.
Ms. Foster?
Nay.
Mr. Nagler?
Aye.
Ms. Novacell? Aye. Ms. Sims is an aye, and Ms. Ullman.
Aye, thank you. Okay, that brings us to our financial information. Let's see. The board acknowledges receipt of the following reports: 6A, which is our financial report, and 6B, which is the treasurer's report. Did anyone have any specific questions on those items? Okay, and we're at item 7, which is our discussion items. And the first is 7A, which is our school improvement plan for Lisle High School. So I would invite Lisle High School administration to come on down.
You left the buses for us. Yeah, feel free to take a bus. Appreciate that. Hey, Jack.
Well, welcome, and I'll turn the discussion over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us tonight. Eric Marsoff, principal at Lisle High School. I have the pleasure of being joined by Dr. Megan Ewald, our assistant principal for curriculum instruction, Mr. Jim O'Hara, our dean of students, and Mr. Tom Markham, our athletics and activities director. So thanks for having us. I have the power of the clicker. Hey, there we go. So tonight we're going to go through last year's action plan, what went well, what may not have gone so well, and what we can learn from it and what we can do better, as well as all of our things with student services, student engagement, academics, all the things are listed on there. So let's get right to it. Last year, we focused on those action steps. So changing our PE curriculum, what we did is we shifted our health classes to freshman year, and then we discontinued sophomore PE, allowing sophomores through seniors the opportunity to select from all of our elective PE courses, those being personal fitness, strength and conditioning, team individual activities. The most significant redesign overall was that of our strength and conditioning class, which has blown up, which is a good thing, that we have a lot of kids that are taking it. It's great for, makes Mr. Markham happy for our athletics, and that we have students taking this and wanting to do this. But we didn't, when we redesigned this, we didn't lose anything from our sophomore PE because there was a lot of redundancy from our freshman PE, so that we just reincorporated some of the things that we didn't tweak so that they can make sure that we got that in the new PE courses. We also added the addition of AP Pre-Calculus. So we were looking for ways to get our seniors another opportunity to earn college credit, right? Not every student wants to take AP Calculus as they go in, if they're following the math pathway, right? So this allows students that may have gone into an honors pre-calc or perhaps another elective, the opportunity to earn those college credits in an AP class. And then we also talked about, we changed our chemistry curriculum to open up access for all. We'll talk more about that later on, as well as our algebra and geometry. So we eliminated algebra core and our applied geometry. In terms of the ACT, we gave a practice test in October and saw great results with that. Again, we'll go through more in detail as we come up with that. And the utilization of those results as we move through our curriculum work, and then the practice test from Cambridge for juniors, and then we'll talk later for next year about what we're going to do differently in that regard. Pre-ACT test data analysis we did with our Institute Day, with our BLT, that's our department heads as we go through, and we had some departments that incorporated those ACT style questions into their assessments and into their daily bell ringers, just to get kids used to it, because those questions are asked in just a little bit of a different way than a typical assessment question. And then, fostering our culture of growth, always looking for ways to get better as we can do this. Utilization of student surveys to inform practices for students and for staff and for us as well. We met I met with focus groups for Vision 202 in September of this year, and we'll talk a little bit about the findings for that as we move forward. So we switch over now to student services.
Good evening. My name is Jim O'Hara. I'm the dean here at the high school. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to be in front of you guys and to talk about the next couple slides. I think the way we have this presentation kind of set up is we're kind of starting off with the student service side and kind of student engagement side to kind of give you guys almost like a snapshot of some of the things that our students go through and experience, because all of that kind of has a kind of giant impact on the next slides when it comes to the test results and the AP data. And so for better or worse, it does have an impact on what those scores are going to look like. And so it's important to discuss some of the data. And so on this slide, a couple things to note. First off, you kind of look at our average attendance rate. And that probably the thing that pops out in your mind is you had that COVID kind of low there, and now we're kind of back to that kind of consistent 94% attendance rate for the year, which in my mind is a good spot to be at. It's obviously not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but I think that 94% is a good threshold of where we want to be. Diving in further, mental health days. If you kind of look at the data there from the last 3 years. The state of Illinois, as many of you are aware, the state of Illinois allows each student to have up to 5 days where they're called out for mental health. So you are aware, we do code that as MH in our attendance system, and then when a student is called out for multiple of those, we do have somebody from our student service department check on that student to make sure that they are okay. And then on the right-hand side, you have hospitalization data, and just by the years. And just to kind of clarify that is from last year, there were 10 students that encompassed 180 days. Once again, one student may have had more of those days than another one, but a total of 180 days over those 10 students. A couple of things that I just wanted to kind of point out just to make sure we are clear. One of the things when it comes to attendance rates, and later on when we look at our rating, we do get kind of rated on our chronically absent numbers. And so when you hear that term come up, chronically absent means a student is absent for 10% or more of the school year. That includes excused absences, that includes unexcused absences, that includes if they had a surgery and they're out for 2 weeks, those days are included in that chronically absent. And so given in our schedule 180 days, you're talking about 18 days or more would be considered chronically absent for the school year, okay? Hospitalizations do not count for that. So if we have documentation that they are hospitalized, they are provided academic instruction, and that is considered a present code in the system. Kind of looking at the numbers, I think, it's, as I said, 94% is good. We're happy with that, but it's never want to be content. And so kind of some things that we're doing here, we did last year and kind of continuing this year is we are, and I mentioned this to you guys last year as well, but we're kind of doing monthly attendance challenges. So any student that achieves a 94% attendance rate or higher for the month gets thrown into our raffle, and we kind of just partner with a local business, and then that business offers a bunch of things. Last year, I think there were 488 students that won some sort of prize, whether that was from Buffalo Wild Wings, Chick-fil-A, you name it. So just kind of a cool kind of incentive for just being present and being at school. And then we're obviously continuing with that as well. An additional piece, and we're kind of just trying to kind of tackle attendance and doing everything we can. We've always done attendance letters for the entire year, so from August all the way to May. And now we've kind of changed that this semester to try something different. We're doing it by semester. And kind of the reason for that is, I guess, 2 reasons. Number one, I think it allows us to be in contact with parents and students earlier, right? So if there is something going on, we're having that communication earlier compared to waiting till whenever that time is. And then number 2, if a student does have a bad semester, we're going to refresh it and we're going to start fresh in January and hopefully kind of be able to turn that around compared to dinging them from things that happened in the fall semester. So far, I think it's working, but obviously it's a pretty short notice on that, and we'll see how it goes for the whole school year. Okay. This next slide is something I appreciate. In dealing with and working with students and trying to improve our attendance numbers and talking with parents and talking with students, and I think it's kind of common sense, and I think you guys would all agree, if you're in school, you're probably going to do better, right? And for me, it's always been that thing I've said, like, there's obviously a direct correlation there. Well, is there? And so we ran the numbers from last year, and it just it's good to see. But if you look on the left-hand side, average attendance rate, and then with that, what's the correlation to their average GPA? And you obviously see the more times you're in school, the better your attendance is, the higher your grade point average is. And then just tying that to test data just from the junior class from last year, so the class of 2026, the exact same thing. So once again, the better your attendance rate was, the higher the ACT score. And so we can only do that just for that class because the tests are a little bit different and just made sense just for the junior class. There was a question just in general about, that looking at that 79% threshold and below, and like what kind of students are in that. And so that breakdown, well, first off, just to kind of give you a perspective, that is approximately, if you had a 79% attendance rate or below, you had 36 or more absences for the year. And then if you look at that breakdown, it was 19 students, 5 of those being seniors, 4 being juniors, 3 being sophomores, and 7 being freshmen, was the breakdown. This information, so you were aware, was shared with our community through Mr. Martzoff's weekly principal message at the start of the school year. And then when I had my student assemblies, it was one of the slides that I kind of hammered home on as well. So. Slide 7 is looking at, once again, still in this branch of student services with special education. Special education is a very large branch of our student service department. And in general, services, I shouldn't say in general, but services are based on students' individual needs. And I think that's a major part of this slide. When you look at the IEPs and the numbers, look at the 504s, the social work minutes, and then our Learning for Life, each one of those, it is based off the student's needs as far as where they're placed and what that looks like. In general, the numbers are very consistent from where they've been in past years. Students, fourth column, students with social work minutes, those students are encompassed in either an IEP or a 504, so there's an overlap there. The Learning for Life program is a program that we have within the building. It is students that have significant disabilities, and there's an asterisk there for part-time because some of those students, once again, it's based on their need. And if a student doesn't need to be in the Learning for Life program the entire day, then they're going to be placed potentially somewhere else. That could be in a Foundations of Algebra class, et cetera, which it could be spread out throughout the day. I think that covers that. And then slide 8, I think is an important slide. Slide 8 looks at, to me, we look at kind of student mobility. I think a lot of times we have this mindset that within Lisle, the students that we have in high school, we've had them for their whole academic careers. And in reality, that's just not the case. And so when you look at kind of student mobility, we're having students come in and also students leave, which the numbers are not huge, but when you compare it to our overall student population, it is a big number, right? And so I think that's important to note, and obviously working with those students and potentially trying to meet their schedules when they come into our building as far as where their credits are at and trying to get them on track for success and for graduation. And I think that ties to the bottom half of this with our 180 program. Our 180 program, once again, is our alternative in-house program. It is online. It is through a program called Ingenuity. That program, kind of just really cool. So I know I've talked to you guys previously about this program, but it's kind of been really neat to see the evolution of this program from when we first started it to where we are now and who that program is helping out. And truly, it is meeting the needs of a lot of students. We have, once again, students that are in this program for behavioral reasons. We have students that are in this program because of attendance reasons. We have students that are in here because of social emotional reasons. We have students in here because they're just, being in the classroom and it just is not working for them. They need a different environment. We're starting to see a higher number of just scheduling conflicts and some really high flyers that are in this program because their schedule they can't meet it with where we offer things. And so it's kind of really neat to see because you have a completely diverse group in this, and I think having the diverse group really kind of picks everybody up as well and finds success. And so once again, about 24 students that were served in that program last year. And the neat part about it is when we first started that program, we had students that were kind of housed in that program for the entire day. And now it's really involved to maybe a student is in there for the whole day. Maybe a student's only in there for 2 periods. Maybe a student's only in there for a period. And once again, it kind of ties back to that previous slide of just kind of meeting the needs of those students. But it's been I'll say this to you guys every time I'm in front of you, but I appreciate you guys kind of gave us the go-ahead to start this program, and I think it's been a huge help, and I appreciate your support in that, because it is really, some periods we only have a couple kids, some periods we have a lot of kids, and it's nice to have that flexibility in-house, keeping kids in our building and being able to find success with them and getting them back on track. So thank you for that. Which leads to student engagement.
Thanks for having me here tonight. I was glad that we didn't have an athletic contest scheduled so I could attend. I think this is the first one I've attended in 3 years, so.
Special guest appearance.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Tom Markham, I'm the Athletic and Activities Director. Before I go over the data for clubs and activities and sports in regards to participation, I wanted to kind of share the message that all of us as administrators we hound our students on, and that's get involved. And I think over the next 2 slides, you're going to get a good idea of what our students do at our school in terms of extracurricular. So athletic participation, first, you'll see that 61% of our students participate in at least one sport. That's a nice clip. With that, 45% are participating in more than one thing. What that tells me, 2 facts, and Mr. Martzoff pointed this out. It shows that there's more to school than just academics for some students, and it also shows that they're working on their time management skills. So 2 heavy areas that we think are very important to our students, and you'll see as the data reflects that. Next slide, activities participation. Although this is our 2nd year of collecting data for activities, I know we're working with some outside groups and hopefully some activities raising interest for this. We've been collecting, as you can see, 618. Obviously, our enrollment is not 618, but we have students, many students, same as sports, that participate in more than one club or activity. We're looking at expanding that data pool now to start looking at those clubs and activities that have registrations, fees assigned to them, and attendance weekly attendances, contests, and competitions, to where we can backtrack that data. As you know, many of our other clubs operate solely off of who's interested that week and don't have a parameter surrounding you have to attend, similar to our sports. I think that's why it's been easier for us to pull sports numbers, but we're working with Activities Booster Club to raise some more awareness and kind of delve into more of the data that we'll be able to present this time next year, hopefully.
Talk about the winter sports.
Yes. Winter sports, remind me.
Why there was a dip?
I see you. That's why he's the boss. One of the questions that was brought up earlier, you'll look at the data that shows there's 190 students that participate in the fall season, between fall season and the winter season. Historically speaking, we've had anywhere from 9 to 11 teams, fall teams, and in the winter there's 5 to 6 teams. So that, I would say, shows why it's such a decrease in the number of attendance. Also, there's 2 sports that I would say are 2 of our most popular sports in the school, just by pure attendance percentages, and that's volleyball and that's soccer, and they typically get anywhere from 40 plus kids to participate. Another thing you can always say is, as we start school years off, there's always that urge to participate in something and get more active with your friends. But I think it's been a consistent number, as you can tell. With less offerings, I would definitely say that corroborates why so. Thank you for the reminder.
Anytime. All right, we'll go into our academics now. So as I mentioned earlier, we eliminated our algebra core and our applied geometry. Reason being is, if a student came in algebra core, then they went to applied geometry, then they would go to algebra 2, without trigonometry. So they would be taking the ACT already at a deficit and not being exposed to some of the concepts that they would be tested on. So we're already putting kids behind, and we don't want that, right? Obviously, we want our students to be able to be successful. We want all students to be at grade level. So that's why we eliminated those courses. We're going to have some bumps in the road as we go through and we work things out for sure. But we have a very dedicated math department that is working towards making this the best for the students. One of the things that we'll talk about for this year is how we're changing, how we're co-teaching. That will help with this as well, but we'll get to that later on. So I mentioned all freshmen are placed in algebra or higher. We also added the advanced pre-calc, which we talked about much earlier, or not much earlier, but in the previous slide. And so you'll see that we have about 37 students that are going to attempt to get college credit this year that would not have had that opportunity last year, which we think is pretty awesome, to get those kids that ability to do that. Okay, science pathway re-examined. A lot of colors, a lot of moving parts here with this one, so bear with me. All right, previously, prior to this year, a freshman would come in and they would take either biology or biology honors, okay? If you took biology honors, you went into chemistry, and then you most likely went into physics or potentially earth science or anatomy or one of the other AP classes down there. If you came into biology, you went into physical science, and then you could go maybe into chemistry as a junior, or you could go into physics or earth science or anatomy. So we have students that never took a chemistry curriculum. As a matter of fact, we had over the last 10 years, we had about 1,250 students that never took chemistry, which that's not good, right? Especially because that's also part of the ACT, right? We feel it's a huge part of the NGSS in a core class. We want our kids exposed to chemistry. Plus, Dr. Ewald was a chemistry teacher, and we got to get that in there, right, as we go through. But all seriousness, right, we want kids to do that. So if you look at the 2025-26, you'll see biology honors. Everybody slides over into chemistry. We're leaving chemistry as a junior, senior elective for anybody that didn't take it last year, right? So if I have a junior that was in physical science that didn't take chemistry, we want that opportunity. And we're going to leave it in there next year as well if they want to take it as a senior. But then it's going to revert to simply a sophomore level course, and obviously any transfers that come in. Also, for the 26-27 school year, the 27-28 school year, we're going to implement a honors biology. So we're building our pathway as we go. So students will come in with biology, chemistry, and then maybe physics. We're kind of hoping for physics at that point. But definitely, and then honors biology, honors chemistry, and then something, right? So we have a pathway that we want to build, and it makes sense versus a choose your own adventure path. So we're making sure the students hit, we're all for student choice, but we also want students to hit certain core standards and to be exposed to those. So that's why we're doing that as it goes through. So I apologize for all the colors in that regard. And then I turn it over to Dr. Ewald.
Thank you, everybody. So excited to be here for my second year, no longer my first year, which is super exciting. So thank you for having me. Thank you for keeping me. So the most exciting part of this presentation in my mind is testing, assessment, and instruction. So we're going to go through all of the details with that, and I'm going to make sure I do my best incorporating all of your great questions, too, that you incorporated along the way. So please stop me if you have questions. I'm more than happy to ask or to answer as we go. All right. So this time last year, I went through the differences that were happening because the state of Illinois decided to purchase ACT as our new assessment, and that meant that we needed to start to navigate away from the SAT suite of assessments. And so now we've gone through our first year of ACT testing. As many of you may be aware too, as parents and of parents who have gone through this, and also to parents who are currently going through this, ACT is going to continuously evolve just as SAT did. In fact, ACT is trying to become as dynamic as SAT was because they were doing it for quite some time. And so it was only a matter of time for ACT to do the same. And so last year, our ACT exam was much larger. There were more items to it. And so now as it's evolving, it is becoming better for our students, which is a plus. So there's actually lots of positives around these new changes that are occurring for 2026. And so this just highlights those major changes, so you could have a glimpse of that. 44 fewer questions, which means it's now 125 minutes. That also means that students will have more time per question, although it's still a timed test, and that's really kind of a nuance to ACT over SAT. They will have some more time in order to complete it. The other interesting piece is that there are now only 4 possible answers rather than 5. And with this, students then, after they take it, I'm going to explain this in the next few slides. So there is ACT testing by district, which we are mandated to do, and that has a specific set of components to it. Then there's also national testing, and I'll talk you through that in the next slide. With national testing, you're able to take some things a la carte. And so it's a little bit different as far as what you necessarily need to take and what certain colleges may want to see. So there are some differences there. Obviously, again, some positives with that too, especially for anybody who pays to, take the ACT or choose to take it a few times. That also helps to alleviate the cost by taking certain things a la carte. But overall, what's not changing, the scoring remains the same, the benchmarks are remaining the same, and the, overall, the digital components of it all will remain the same, utilizing TestNav as our test manager. And so getting into more of the specifics, I was able to have the opportunity to go to a riveting ACT workshop where I was able to learn a lot about each of the different types of ACT tests. And so what they're now doing, in case you ever hear that language, the prior ACT is now known as the legacy ACT. It's a very beautiful name. And we're now moving into the enhanced ACT, okay? So what that means for us with district testing, and that's why we have included writing in both of those, both legacy and enhanced, is because the state of Illinois and ISB requires all of our students in district testing to take the writing component. It's not an option. The other piece is with district testing, we are required to do science as well. It's not an option. Okay, so if you were to take a national ACT enhanced exam, you do not need to take science and you do not need to take writing with it. So what this means for our current juniors is that when they take the ACT in the spring, they are going to take everything with us, and that will be a part of their ACT transcript. What that means then is if they choose and they decide, I want to, take the national or maybe just keep testing to see how I do, good, great idea. Again, family decision. They then can choose if they want to take science as a part of that, and writing is no longer a component they need to take. And that also then allows students to superscore, and there are many schools that are accepting superscores, and there are some schools still that are, test optional. So again, it's a family decision, but I think it's also really important for our students to recognize and know that these opportunities are available to them. And I can only see this evolving even more, right? I think we are in the early stages of ACT, catching up to a lot of the different pieces that SAT was becoming really good at, and this is ACT's way of doing that. I just also want to mention too, just with the asterisks, that's also too, they are embedding field test items as well, which is an important piece, and what students are starting to learn, especially with ACT prep, recognizing that those are not going to be contributing to their score points as well. So there are some nuance with ACT as they field test out questions as well. And then as well as ACT versus the ISB benchmarks. So just like ACT, learning how to catch up and do things a little bit differently, ISB over the years have been talking for a while about changing their cut scores, even when we were still utilizing SAT. ISB has now spent, I believe, about 18 months discussing, researching, looking at the state standards, and they have then decided, it was just past July, they convened, and this is when they came out with the finalized cut scores. Those cut scores are for math, science, and ELA. That ELA is a combination as well of the reading, English, and writing. Okay, so it's combined average. So what we could see here, and I want to make sure we're kind of clear about each of these columns. So you have your ACT subscores, and they report all of those out separately. Again, many colleges now may only be asking for specific subscores that they're interested in, depending on the programs that you're interested in going into. I say that because my son's, he's applying for engineering. They really just want to know what his math subscore was, and they don't even care about his composite. So it's very interesting now in this world where we are so used to the composite, making sure we increase that, where nope, I just want to see what your math subscore is. So it's an important thing, again, for students to know. But when you look at college courses, so what this means is if you meet and you, let's say, have a 23 for your science subscore, that means that you are 50% likely to have a B in the entry-level biology course when you go to college. So that's kind of what they're trying to predict. It's a predictor of your success in your freshman year of college. Just like for STEM, they're telling you if you get a 26, again, you have about a 50% chance you're going to have a B in one of those classes your freshman year. The ISB cut scores, the way that they were developed is they kind of looked at it and said, well, we have our ACT benchmarks, and those are really nicely delineated, and those are really useful. Our teachers utilize those as well to inform instruction. But ISB was like, well, we, as Illinois, have decided that we're going to decide on these cut scores, meaning, well, this means that you have, again, about a 50% chance of having a C in those courses, which is what they deem to be proficient in meeting the state standards. And so that's the scale that they utilized. I thought it would also be really nice for you to see that we are exceeding our ISB cut scores and very much, really, really close to meeting all of the ACT benchmarks. And so I do want to point out with science specifically, I say this because there was a question around it. We use it as predictor with biology, but our science department specifically last year, knowing that we were going to have the ACT benchmarks, which were different, their goal was to try to meet the 23 benchmark, and they got really close to it. So I applaud them for that. And their focus for it was around the skills. And so teachers utilize this to look at those benchmarks, and there's a link in there so you could go in specifically with each range to know what those skills or content or big ideas are that they should be meeting. But like, for example, for science, that's science reasoning. And so if you have a 23, that means that you're meeting specific skills around interpreting data, scientific investigation, and evaluation of models. So those are things that they're trying to make sure that they're incorporating on a daily basis while teaching their science content to meet those skills, and I think that they're finding a lot of success around that. Those are the conversations in their PLCs and what they are trying to incorporate around their professional learning. Okay? And then getting into assessment, curriculum, and instruction. With this slide, I'd like to focus, just because, again, there was a change in testing, which is unique for the class of 2026, but I wanted to point out and kind of focus more on the junior assessments that they took, and thank you for pointing out my error. Yes, it was October 2024 for pre-ACT. But I think it's so fantastic when you look at this, and I try to utilize the ISB cut scores with this so that way it was aligned and it made sense in comparison. The number of students was very close, and so you could see that there was an increase in the average mean score just from October to April by doing the pre-ACT. And one of the most important things I took away from going to the ACT workshop was the research and the data that's starting to be collected now that we are a year in, knowing that students who take the pre-ACT as juniors in the fall will perform better in April. And there are many different reasons why. One of them is just becoming used to the platform and used to the test. The other great thing about doing pre-ACT, which is different than doing pre-ACT 9 secure or pre-ACT secure, where you don't get any sort of data analytics from it. But the fact that those juniors in October, when we mail them home and we share, it provides in detail, along with the actual test booklet, what they had wrong, and then it also analyzes for them so they can self-reflect and self-assess to know where their areas of strength are and where their areas of growth are. We also have our teachers then utilize that data in order to work with their PLCs to inform instruction and to say, we're identifying certain skills. Again, if I'm going to talk about science, recognizing that they're killing it when it comes to data analysis and when it comes to modeling, but we really need to make sure that they're designing more experiments because that's the higher depth of knowledge. And so that's how they're able to utilize that information to make informed data decisions about what their lessons and instruction should be. And all of our teams do that. Social studies as well finds this really informative with ELA because that also then helps too when we get to it with AP scores. Because again, it's all around the same skills, evaluating, creating, analyzing. Those are all very much the same. So this information is really helpful. It is a huge kudos to our class of 2026. They're doing an exceptional job showing off for us, and again, having such an increase in the mean score just in 1 year. Some other things around this, too, that are not on this slide, but other things that we're doing, incorporating, is we have now purchased Albert I.O. for all students to have, and this is a part of what they're able to get into class links, and it's a single sign-on. This is actually, it's a tool that is a larger umbrella that fits many jobs. And not only does it help with core subjects, but it also helps with AP, and it also helps with ACT, and it also provides for students who choose to take SAT, there are still components within that. So it provides a lot of resource and practice for them, and specifically, they're able to go through on their own and be able to look at and practice, knowing where their areas of strength and where their areas of growth are, and parents are able to look at that data as well. This was part of what we're trying to incorporate and embed within One Pride. We've already had one in the fall around English, because that was, it's always one of those where, with grammar, it just makes it easier if you practice it more and more. But I've been able to make folders for just the different classes. They could go in on their own and get that practice, but then also too, they can utilize that time just to set it aside and have some sacred time to go through a full-length practice, any of those components. And so we'll continue to do that as well. But Albert I.O., again, is just a fantastic tool. It is something that we chose to do at the high school to embed rather than doing Cambridge, which was more standalone and only one way or one sitting, which the teachers and the students didn't find to be as helpful. By doing this, they have it at their fingertips, and we're able to utilize that data very, very quickly. The students see it right away after they finish, and they get a specific score. Then they actually can go back to each of the questions to see what they did wrong and what they're going to do differently next time. It also helps with timing, just practicing the timing of the test as well. So that's also been very helpful. Yes?
If I've heard right, you're taking some of the data from this test to just curriculum or how teaching's done. Is there anything going down to the individual level with, students say, hey, there's 3 areas I'm weakest in,
Yep.
and they can get that assistance there, and then
Absolutely. I think the purpose of the Albert specifically is to have the individualized information, and it fits perfectly with our school goal. Our school goal is to make sure that we are helping students build their self-efficacy skills to move from dependent to independent learners. And so many of our teachers, I'm going to speak because I just saw it recently, especially in pre-calc, I was able to see how when they're in stations, they're able to then move into, okay, they're going to choose to go into this next station and work more on an Albert ACT math test and get immediate feedback right away. And so that then tells them what they need to continue to work on, and you're also able to map your progress along the way. So.
Is this the first year?
Yes, first.
Okay.
We've had Albert. I think they've had Albert in the past. I think in the past, they were only able to purchase about a few seats or so. I think it was mostly, I know AP Stats utilized it in the past. I know that a few other AP teachers did because they do have a very robust AP resource and set of assessments. But we chose, and along with BLT, that this was a great way to embed it and, again, provide the tools in the hands of the students for them to utilize it more often, more frequently, and to have that data to share with their families as well. So it's something that we will continue, like any tech tool, look at the data, and in April decide, do we continue with it? Do we move forward with it? But I could say that from the students, I've actually had a lot of, because we have students who are taking other AP exams that we don't have courses for example, AP Psychology. I was really able, it was super fast. I made a class for AP Psychology in Albert. I became their teacher, and I populated it with all the different assessments for AP Psych for them to go through and practice. So it's super easy to utilize. It's very intuitive. I feel like if I could do it, anybody can do it. But it really made them feel better right away. I'm able to see that information, and also too, I could pull them for one pride and just give them that like extra space to say, okay, you could work on this during this time.
You know, and along those same lines of individual attention, the pre-ACT, if an individual student gets are they going in and talking to the teacher about it? Rather than looking at it at home, the parents may not be as helpful. So they can take their individual ACT results into also get help on where they need.
Absolutely, yes. And again, it's very detailed because it goes through it in each of the different components. And so I could say too that our math teachers are focusing in on it, all of our teachers, because again, a lot of this is built around the skills. And so that then provides, again, more information and more detail about for teachers. I'm going to make sure I design my lesson then around this, because the overall data, we noticed a dip here. It's the same thing that our AP teachers would do then too when they have their AP scores, which I'll get to on the next slide.
Yeah, well, it's evident from the increase from the pre-ACT to ACT. That's terrific.
Yeah, so, and I think if we were to continue, I think we should always continue junior year, but I do think I'm excited to see, because these juniors, this was our first year of it. Now that we've had, our 9th, 10th, and 11th, again, this year, take the pre-ACT in the fall and get more of that specialized and personalized information, I'm excited to see how that is going to continue to help them in the years to come.
Just a quick question, building up, and I agree, absolutely fantastic plans so far on all this, and I apologize if I'm getting ahead of a piece of your presentation.
It's okay.
But for the students, like you were saying, you guys work on it in class, but like if they individually have an outlier area, is that something where maybe like if they're at risk or not meeting where they need to be, is that sent home to like the parents or something like that?
Yes, so the parents are mailed the pamphlet with all of the detailed information. You're able to see where they are as far as in the band, and then within that, it goes into detail about specific skills or specific, I think even within math, like specific content areas where they need to continue to work on and grow.
With that, does it like give the parent just like reference, like making sure you connect during like one pride to work on this piece or something like that, just so the parents know like this is where they're weak, like this is what we can do to help them or help encourage them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, that's also what our teachers enjoy so much about having this extra set of data, which a lot of schools may not have in the fall. They're able to utilize that right away in their instruction, within their small groups, within planning, within differentiating. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right, and then the next piece of this would be AP. And it's exciting because last year we were able to make sure we tested all of our students within our building. And we were, within those 2 weeks, able to test. We had a total number of 216 AP students last year, taking 391 exams, which is phenomenal. I actually, too, just because we just finished with registration for this year, just to give you an idea, too, we have about 195 AP students this year and over 400 exams that are registered for this year. So it's continuing to grow. But I think it also kind of fits into, this is like one profile of a student where we have many students who are within AP and considering that as a pathway for them. We also have many students that do TCD junior and senior year. That's another profile, another pathway. And we're now also incorporating more dual credit classes too. That would be another pathway. So within this, it's been exciting to see the growth. And in the other slideshow that I prepared, you could get more details on each of the different courses. I did add in, I believe it was, no? It's in the other slideshow. I added another link to make sure for you. I added another link that has all of them in there. It's in a nice spreadsheet, so you could see it. And I think what's fascinating about this too, when you look at like the 82%, although it looks like it's less from last year, when you look at 82% of 216, that's 177 students. I mean, that's more than the number of students we had last year, but those are the ones that have 3 or more or higher, right? I think too, when you look at it globally, because there was a question around that too, there's a lot of different factors at play when it comes to AP, and looking at now too, our goal as administrators and our goal in BLT and of our teachers is to open access and have as many of our students experience AP as much as possible, and to experience the rigor of an AP course, no matter what score they get. And so, for example, like AP statistics, you know, although our overall scores may look less, but we also, though, within AP Stats, when you look more in the detail, we had 8 students, though, choose to take that class that would probably not have otherwise. And they now have the opportunity, or had that opportunity, to take a more rigorous or challenge, which is going to benefit them in the long run. And I think that that's what we are also seeing globally, is the demographics of students who may not fit a traditional AP profile. We have more students who are willing to take the challenge, which is a safe environment for them to do in high school prior to taking that first year weed out class when you go to college. They're going to be better prepared with the skills and the perseverance and the grit to do so. And so that's the other phenomenal piece about our data, is that yes, we have a lot that have 3 or more, but I'm also always really interested to see those that took that challenge and maybe got a 2, but you know, they really stuck with it, and they are probably more likely the next year to take another one. And so I think that's the other story that our AP data is telling us at this time as well. As far as the use of this, and as well as all of our data, before we get to the next piece, I do want to say that our teachers really look through the data as soon as we get it, especially our AP teachers at the start of the year. And we are so fortunate now to have Nick Helms as our instructional coach, and I would have to say, I have to say, every single department, our teachers have worked with him in order to improve instruction. And it's been a phenomenal thing to witness, and him building that culture and building that trust so quickly, because that's now added another embedded professional development piece that we did not have before. And so that's what we were able to see, and that's what I'm excited to see too, even now. For example, looking at, I think it was AP Government, our AP Government teacher right away was able to look at the data. Just to give you a quick story of how this kind of works, she noticed that there were some gaps in Unit 2 by looking at the AP data a little bit more closely. She right away started working with Mr. Helms in figuring out what to do about it, and so has started to work on different instructional strategies, trying to work on different lessons in order to better improve student learning around that unit for this year. And so it's been really productive and really helpful. I think that what's also another nice piece too that you can't see in this data is that so many of our teachers, we actually have 2 teachers in social studies who have become AP readers, and so they are also learning on that side of it. Now that they have read and have done FRQ reading, that now has helped them to identify, again, where are the gaps and what do they need to do to improve student learning in that way. I want to hone in on the verbs around what all of our teachers want to keep thinking of when it comes to their learning targets and thinking about what students should be doing in the classroom. And it's moving away from that identification piece into that higher depth of knowledge, into the creating, analyzing, critiquing, evaluating. They are so focused. I would say overall focus area for all of our teachers has been on improving our student skills around those types of verbs. And that, I think, is evident across the board, because in AP, in dual credit, in ACT, all of it is going to be around those higher order thinking skills. So that would be a pattern. As a science teacher, I'm going to end with that. A pattern that I have noticed and recognized by looking at all of the data.
All right, so we continue on. You'll notice this year, my first year, where it's actually like last year I presented on what the previous administration did. This year I have my own, and we're commendable. We went down one. Now, people may be concerned about that, but I'm not. And let me tell you why, is we have so much to be proud of for what our students and our staff do. And when you dive into the numbers, which we'll get to in a second, right, it really tells a story as to why it may not be. And the best part, the state's changing how they do it next year. So, like, that's why I'm not overly concerned about it, because everything changes as we go through. So,
Can I just, I wanted to point out that we're also in good company, because I noticed that Naperville Central and North are both commendable, both of the schools, and also Downers North and South, or North and South,
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
Both are also commendable, so it's not just you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah. The green lists areas where we have increases in this slide, right? And so you see huge jumps in our ELA proficiency, in our math proficiency, and in our climate survey. Those are all awesome. They're only weighted at 7.5% of the overall weight of the whole thing, right? And when you look at the composite graduation rate, that accounts for half. Right? But now when you think about Lisle and how small we are, we had 88 students that walked across the stage. We had 100 students that started with us as freshmen for that cohort, right? 2 students went to private school and or homeschool that didn't get picked up by and they don't have to report it to the state, and so they count against us as not graduating, right? We had a student that transferred in as a senior who is woefully credit deficient, needless to say, did not graduate last year. That counts against us. So it may sound like I'm making excuses, and I guess in a way I am, but I'm also I want you to understand the reason behind the numbers that go. In addition to it, right, when you think about those students that are, Mr. O'Hara talked about our Learning for Life, right, and any of the special education students that continue on, right? When they get to 18, they have to make a choice. Do I want to graduate, or do I want to continue on with my services? We want them to continue on with their services, right? That's the right thing for them to do, but that counts against us as well. So when you add all those things up, all those things, it's not that we didn't have a lot of kids graduate, we just had different underlying circumstances that led to that. So we have that in that. We had our 9th grade on track, which went down a little bit. We had a couple more kids that failed more classes. Unfortunately, with summer school, you can make up one class, and one class only, like if you fail it. Right? So if you have 2 failures, you're choosing. Which one are you going to make up? And then on top of it, summer school isn't mandatory. A lot of kids will choose, you know what, I'm just going to take it next year. I don't want to give up my summer. And we can't make them, right? So we're doing our best to work towards that as we go through that. But like I said, we have some awesome things to be proud of, the proficiencies, the science pathways, all of those things that we did, and our climate survey, which we'll get to now. Bless you.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an idea of how it's changing for next year?
I do. Instead of, and I don't know all the nitty gritty of it, but basically, right now, there's a set percentage that can be exemplary. Whereas, right, and so that bar moves every year because it's only, I believe, 10% of the state. Next year, it's going to be if you hit these benchmarks, you're in. Whether there's 100 or whether there's 5, right, you're in as the exemplary. So it doesn't. So when we contacted the state, because we had made some mistakes and missed a few things, we contacted the state. They said, yeah, you're right, but we can't change it because that would knock somebody else off. And they've already celebrated and, they're exemplary. I'm like, all right, I get it, right? It's our mistake, so we'll take the onus on that. Next year, that wouldn't be the case because it's just however many there is, they're set cut scores.
Great. And I think here we appreciate that we're partially one student's 1%, so it's
Yeah.
easy to, what you indicated, I think not surprising that can sway some of these numbers and hopefully can be not such a factor next year with the new.
Correct, yeah. Attendance, I don't remember off the top of my head if attendance hurts as much next year or not.
It can only help, right?
Or this year, for next year.
For next year. For next year. I do know that for next year, attendance and some other things will only help. It will not hurt.
Right, that was it.
Which is also a pro.
Just one more quick question on your slide here. This 9th grade on track, I noticed
Yep.
that's a decrease. Is that something where the better preparation in the junior high could assist with that? Is that like before the kids get to you?
Maybe. I'm not going to attribute it all to that. That's a potential. It's also kids getting to school, as we saw, right, with the attendance of them getting to school, of them doing the work and doing it. So I can't say that for sure it's that. The junior high does a great job with what they with what they send us. I think it's maybe a combination of things.
And that's assessed at the end of like the 9th grade
Yes.
year, so it would be like the spring score.
Spring
So,
score.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
So they take you have to have everything in by July 31st. And then all your grades and everything. And then when we roll over, the state takes it all at that point.
Does 9th grade on track also have something with algebra, if I remember? I think that's a big
Yeah,
factor in it,
it
as
does.
to the
Yep,
number. And now
correct.
they've-
And so we want students, that's another reason why we're putting all the students, freshmen, into algebra.
Right. Yeah, it's not just how they're prepared, and it's the number that are in algebra, I believe, in the
And
9th
passing.
grade. In passing, yeah.
and we feel they're all ready to go into algebra with their preparation prior to going?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think, as with any subject, some students are going to need a little more assistance than others, but I think everybody is ready to be successful.
Okay, thank you.
I do have to mention too, I think that was just based off of one student too, with that percentage.
Okay, so it was just a,
One, yeah.
okay. Thank you for clarifying.
And just, I think I remember the junior high thing, they added a lot more students to the honors math class that's in the 8th grade. This year, they had like a crazy amount of students in it. So I think we'll probably see that number go up for the algebra too.
Awesome. We'll
Yeah,
try not
I'm
to
thinking
mess
of
them up.
the kids who aren't in the honors, like that they're ready, but it sounds like they feel.
Yeah.
I just want to add too, I think, we're continuing to evolve our One Pride period, and I think a lot of things that have been talked about today, just kind of hone back on that period, like when it comes to the ACT data, when it comes to AP data, when it comes to students on track, I think utilizing that One Pride period has been a huge advantage, and I think we'll only continue to improve those numbers. It's not just a period to the struggling student. It's now becoming more of a period for enrichment and for, Dr. Ewald is now incorporating these ACT sessions into that One Pride period, which I think is a very powerful piece because prior to that, we really didn't have that during the day. It was always maybe after school or an optional session, and they were involved in extracurriculars, and they couldn't make those times. And so just another powerful piece within the day that I think a lot of students can take advantage of. I think it's a really exciting piece of the One Pride period. And I think as we keep utilizing that, not only to help our struggling learners, but also to just create enhancement and enrich, the better off we're going to be. So,
Can I ask a clarifying question? So is the Lisle 180 the place where students can recover credit if they don't take that one summer school credit? It's in that.
They can, but the 180 class, depending on a student's if they have a learning disability, they're not going into, so if they have a learning disability in math, we're not putting them in an online math class without that potential support. And so it kind of depends on the student, but yes, that 180 class could serve a lot of students for credit recovery, which has been very helpful for students that are transferring over that are credit deficient. We've utilized that, or students that, yes, maybe students that are not on track. Ideally, we've tried not to put freshmen in the 180 class. Sometimes that happens, but not always the case.
All right, then. We'll move on to the 5 Essentials survey. Taking a look at it this way, I chose to look at it a little different this year. And I wanted to look at the 5 areas of where we are. And we saw growth in 4 of the 5 areas. We did go down in ambitious instruction, and I want to talk about that in a little bit. But I just wanted to give you a general overview of where we were. Super happy with the supportive environment and the involved families and our collaborative teachers. They do a great job in that regard. So where are we performing the highest? And the question was asked, are these look like clickable links? And they are if you're on the website. You can click on them and dive into the questions as they go, which we will with the math, but as we go through. So we're performing the highest here in expectations for our post-secondary education, which is, continuing to, with the, giving our students opportunities to move on, be it at a 2-year school or at a 4-year school. We want them to be able to serve what needs them. Our quality of student discussion, teacher-parent trust, and safety, and student-teacher trust. And I wanted to hone in on those last 3. That really came up over and over again in our focus groups that we had in September for all of our students, was students trust the people at Lisle, be that the teacher trust that they have or the student-to-student trust that they have. Over and over again, it came out that Lisle is being a small, close-knit community where the students felt known and supported and welcome by teachers and peers, which I think is huge when it goes to the whole learning thing, as we go moving forward through it. So we definitely wanted to do that. So those were the areas where we are performing the highest. Areas where we saw the highest growth was teacher-principal trust, instructional leadership. You can read those. I'm not going to read them to you. Teacher-principal trust. That's not me. That is the 4 people that are sitting here and Mrs. Zimmerman, who is not ditching today. She had knee surgery, and I told her to stay home. She wanted to come in. I said, no, stay home, right? So she's not, I didn't want anybody to think that she was ditching out today. But, it's the people sitting at this table and Mrs. Zimmerman and the effort that they're making with everybody. Yes, it says principal. Each of these represent that exact same person, right? So it's a team effort in that regard. The instructional leadership, where we went up 17%, that is one person. That's her, right? It is that young lady right there sitting to my right. She has done a fantastic job of leading our department heads and moving our school in the right direction. So I definitely wanted to see that and recognize them. Where are we performing the lowest? And that's not to say it's bad. It's just the areas where we were the lowest. Math instruction, teacher-to-teacher trust we're working on, English instruction, the collective responsibility, and teacher-to-principal trust. See, it's still bad, right? We're moving up. We just got to get up there as it goes up. But I wanted to highlight the math instruction. And it may sound weird that I'm highlighting the math instruction. I'm not highlighting it because it's listed under the lowest. I want to highlight it because of the response that our math department had. When I received these results in July, I sent an email to Mr. Jagley, our math department head, said, hey, there's concerns, some questions I have about this. Let's talk about this when you get back in August. Let's develop a plan. He replied back that day, said, nope. I'm coming in on Tuesday, and we're going to hammer it out. And he didn't just come in over the summer. He came in with a plan. Here's what we're going to do, right? And here's how we're going to address it. So I want to give them kudos in that regard. They really took ownership of that and made it through. So that was awesome. We're about to go through some of the questions that go through the math instruction and why students rated it the way they did. But I also wanted to be upfront and tell you there are 2 questions I am not going to report on because I personally don't put a lot of faith in them. That is, write a math problem for other students to solve. So they want students writing math problems for other students to solve. I was a math teacher for 15 years, and I don't put a lot of stock in questions that other students wrote for other questions. Hey, what's 2 plus 2, right? Or they have this huge complicated problem that I couldn't even solve, right, as it's going through with all these parts, right? So there's really not a lot of validity to that question in my mind as it goes through. And also, solving a problem with multiple steps that takes more than 20 minutes. I personally told my students, if you're taking more than 20 minutes on a problem, stop. It means that we have issues, right? There's a fundamental misunderstanding that we have and we need to fix, right? So I don't want kids taking more than 20 minutes on one problem, right? They'll do plenty of that in college, all right? But in high school, it should not take that long for one question. So that's why I didn't want to necessarily report on all of those. So where are we at? So opportunities for growth, right? Where they're at. So how often do you write a few sentences in math class? And Mr. Jegley and their team talked about it, and they want to integrate, like, how do we get explanations, like kids talking to each other, how do we actually write things down, right, of working on these things and not just texting it to each other, but actually writing it down as we go through. So they're working on doing things in that regard, explaining how you solved a problem to the class, getting up and talking about where we are going to do, discussing those solutions, students submitting, maybe students are going to submit a video explanation of a problem set that they did. If you're not comfortable getting up and presenting to the whole class, that's fine, right? Technology is a wonderful thing. You can send us a video, right, explanation of how you're going to do it, so you're not up in front of talking. A lot of kids don't like to do that. Or maybe calling students like up one-on-one, just to have a conversation with them of how they're going to explain it in class. So that's one of the things that we wanted to work on. Discussing problem solutions or solutions to problems with other students. We are definitely going to focus on the building thinking classrooms and getting students up and moving as we're going around, not just sitting at their desk talking, but doing the vertical solving, right? Talking to each other as they go through and having those conversations, regrouping as they need to, and really delving deeper into the math. Activities that specifically require them to collaborate and talk to each other, right? Not just sit there, right, and okay, I'll do this, you do this, right? No, we have to all work together as it goes through. So how do we do that? Are there sentence starters? Are there word banks that we're using? Those types of things as it goes through. And lastly, how do we apply math to situations in life outside of school, right? The number one question I always got when I was in the math classroom is, when am I ever going to use this? My answer was always probably never. But we're teaching you how to think, right? And that's what we want them to do, is to, how are we going to think mathematically about this? Realistically, you're probably never going to have to use a quadratic formula, right, as you go through this. But can you identify the parts of a problem and what needs to go into it to come up with a solution to it? And so that's what we want them to do in terms of thinking mathematically and applying it in situations outside of school in that regard, right? And using those types of problems, real, relatable, everyday problems. As it goes through. 2025-26 action plan, we've already talked about some of this stuff because we're in November and we wrote this in July, and so we're rolling. We're not waiting for this to go as it goes through. Dr. Ewald has done a fantastic job of writing and developing and implementing the 5 CCE pathways. Those are, let's see if I get them all right, I probably won't. We've got education, we've got nursing, we've got EMT, we've got, don't tell me, cosmetology, and what's the 5th one? Culinary, thank you. So education, all 5 of those, they get dual credit through COD, all right? We give dual credit through our education pathway. All the rest of them will obtain dual credit through the COD pathway, path classes that they will take, not COD, TCD, thank you. As it goes through. So we've got that. I mentioned we're going to begin developing our honors chemistry class to be rolled out in 2 years. Realistically, we thought, okay, yeah, great, we can do that next year. And we got into developing the regular chemistry, and we're building it as we were going, and there ain't no way in heck we're going to be able to do this, right? So let's take our time and let's do it right. Let's learn from what we learned here, and then we're going to add to it. So we're going to roll that out in 2 years to make sure it's right and good for students. We will continue to strengthen our algebra and English 1 courses as we go through to talk about some of the questions with like the gaps that they may have. Continuing our multi-year focus on the development of student self-efficacy and them taking the ownership. Some of the things you've heard about with the Albert I.O., with some of the One Pride things, right? We want the students to take ownership of the learning, not just to sit back and be passive absorbers or sponge of the information, but to actually take part in it. I mentioned earlier our transition to co-teaching model. So when we have a special education teacher and a content area teacher in the classroom, previously it was an and one model. Right, so I'm going to be as a math teacher, Dr. Ewald as a co-teacher, I'm going to present everything, and then she'll just kind of chime in here and there, right, or add and work with those special education students. What we're moving to is more a true collaboration of, okay, I'm going to start the bell ringer, and you're going to start the instruction, and we're going to work around, we're going to do, ideally, by the time we get this implemented, when you walk into a classroom, you won't know who the content teacher is and who the special education teacher is if we've done this right, and we continue. And it's not going to be this year. I will tell you that right now, right? It's going to take some time for us to develop it and work with our staff to get that right. But when we do, it's going to be a wonderful thing for our students as it goes through. Continue our formative assessment and adjustment in real time, as we talked about. Talked about the ACT in October and the use of Albert I.O. As we're rolling through. Dr. Ewald talked about the use of our instructional coach. I actually met with him today. He's met with our over 10 staff members already in just a short time that he's been in, of how to improve instruction, how to do things, bounce ideas off, be a thought partner of, okay, how do I, it's not just technology. Yes, technology plays a role in it, but it's also instructional practices, right, and how to do these things, and he's doing a wonderful job in that regard. And probably one of the best things we did this year was our articulation with the junior high. I say it did because we're done with it. All of our we have one more day in February where we have a half day, but up until now, we've met on all of our half days and our institute days with our counterparts at the junior high. We've alternated schools, and we've talked about things. We developed a grading statement. What do grades mean in Lisle? We've talked about how do we communicate with families about what those grades are, what's the best way to do that, as well as what our reassessment policies are, and like why do we reassess, all right? What is our policy in that regard, and what can we do moving forward? We are nowhere near being done. Right, but this is starting the ball rolling of getting that collaboration so that our students have a unified experience 6 through 12. And that's not to diminish the elementary school. I know the junior high is talking about articulating with them, which makes sense. We just don't see a lot of with it from the elementary school up to the high school. So we're doing that. But we've had a great job, and Dave and his team have been fantastic to work with. And that is our plan for this year. Resource links are there for you. Thank you for your presentation, for your time this evening. Any other questions?
I just have a comment.
Please.
I just see so much opportunity for students in this presentation. And as you were talking about the chemistry lift, I was like, but you also changed your English classes and your algebra classes and your PE classes and your health offerings. And so that's a lot
Yes.
to lead and manage, and it's a lot on the teachers as well to make sure that they're that bridge to help the students get to where they need to be. So just a really big thank you to all of you and the teachers for being able to put all of that together in a really short amount of time. There's a lot, plus a dual credit. I could go on and on. There's just a lot of opportunity here. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, yeah. It's all to the teachers. They've done all the work. We just come up with the ideas.
I think we're all going to give you an exemplary on the presentations.
Oh, thank you.
Not even a commendable, way above that. It was excellent. Just, some of the other, I guess, kudos that are embedded in those slides was the increase in the number of AP scholars and the average score for AP. Also very, very impressive. One other question, and I think you touched on this, for the secondary plan, the post-secondary, the student transition is those students who are going
Yes.
on to
Yeah, so those are our IEP students that are choosing to continue on with their services, and they're from 18 to 22, and then once they age out at 22, then they move on.
Yeah, okay, just wanted to be sure that
Yep,
was the
100%.
definition that you had given before. If anyone else has any question, I want to go back to one more, but if, Kate, I think you have.
I just was going to build off that, and that's something they're not thinking of changing. I agree with you, that's the right thing to do for those students, to keep them there and maximize their services, and that's still something. Okay.
Not that I've heard, and I know.
Well, I'm glad we're focusing on the right thing for those kids.
Yeah.
Good. One more question, as long as we have Mr. Markham here, or two more questions, actually. The feeder programs at the junior high, how is that impacting the high school programs? I mean, is it a positive? Do you see growth?
I see it
in
being a very positive thing. In talking with Mr. Martzoff and even Mr. Carney, I think we do such a great job. I look at Mr. O'Hara, I look at all of our administrators. We align disciplinary, right? We align building safety. We've aligned academically. Now we are aligning some activities, but a lot of athletics. So I would say it's a very, very positive thing.
Good, good. And my other question was, I've noticed kind of a trend, and I wondered if you had the data on that, on the number of our staff who are our coaches. It seems that we have a lot of outside coaches, and the trend has gone down, and I think it's, that's an important part of that daily connection that coaches make.
Absolutely. I think it's stayed pretty consistent around 50% since I've been here. Right now, we have 44 coaches. 22 of those are in district. So it's one of those things that we've identified as a building leadership team. We agree with you 1,000%. We want our teachers to do things after the school day, and that only engages our students more, and having those relationships outside of the math class or outside of the physical education class. So we see the impact and the power behind that, and when we start to interview staff members for our various variety of positions, that's one of the first things that we ask them. What else are you going to get involved in? So that's definitely in our mission and what we're looking for. I would love to see, as I sit here and say I would love to see 100%, there are those coaches that are also here probably more than our teachers, and they live in the school because that's their passion, and they just had a different approach or a different avenue to get to where they are. So we're at about 50%. It's teetered down to 45 and up to 55, but we know the importance of our kids seeing our coaches throughout the school day, and we try to get that as much as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
I actually have a question building off Pam's question. I think Pam, good question, inspiration, but I was thinking of this when we went through policies too. We were looking at the duties and qualifications of the coaches, and just with about half of them being from outside of district, how do we ensure that, they're doing their duties? Because I know when they're not playing at home, they are all over the place. So it's got, you can't be in Peatone and Streeter and all those different things. So what are we doing to make sure that they're fulfilling all those things we expect of them?
In regards to duties and daily assignments, I'm thinking that's what you're asking, not so much their background knowledge or their day-to-day duties. I would say we have several different things. Obviously, you're going to get feedback from all of the stakeholders, from the student athletes, from the parents, from other administrators at other buildings, whether that's an opponent's building, whether that's conferences, whether that's junior high. It's just, you'll get feedback in that direction. It's one of those things that it's year by year, season by season, and you continue to provide professional development for whatever instances. We do goal setting. So at the high school, and what we're eventually trying to get down with me taking over at the junior high, with the evaluation tool, there's goal setting. And we're looking at, okay, how was your season one, finished in the fall? What were your strengths? What were your weaknesses? What were areas of growth that we could potentially work on for our next season? That comes back from student surveys. That comes back from my observations that I've had, and as well as some feedback that I've gotten from parents. So you'll see a goal set. I use this often. One staff member, a coach, identified that communication could have been better. That was dinged in surveys, and that was also brought up for parents. That coach created a better means for communication that next season. So It's an ongoing thing. There's professional development opportunities that we always strive. We have a professional development budget that we're always wanting our coaches to do as many things as possible and to continue. As you know, as teachers, you have to do a certain amount of CPDUs every year. I have that same expectation for coaches. The games, contests, sports, they've changed from when I was in school, from when you guys were in school, from when we all, and so have students. So we need to learn what's the best way we can potentially get to these students, because I think wins and losses are great. Wins are great, better. But the student experience to me is the most important thing. And I've found that when our students are having better experiences, the wins are going to come, right? So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, if not, we'll let you go. But thank you again. That was outstanding. So.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You too. You're welcome to stay.
37 policy items, don't miss it.
We assume you'll be watching.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, we're at 7B on our agenda, which is the new club proposal, Lisle Junior High Spanish Club. So I think I have some overview on that.
As we've talked about before, we're really wanting to give as many opportunities for students, but we're also at a financial point where we feel like we're not going to be adding things. And so the program was piloted last year. We had about 30 to, I think, 35 students participate, very well received. We felt like we had committed to that individual that if you piloted it, we would, and you had a lot of students participate, we would add it the next year. And so we would like to bring to you, if you're comfortable, the recommendation at the December meeting to add that, but also want to make it clear, like we're not adding new things, and the only reason we're adding this new thing is because we pilot it, and now we're following through with our commitment. Any questions about the program at all? The stipend is about $500, so it's not a huge financial impact on our school district, but again, want to make a clear message as to we're working towards a balanced budget for next year.
No, thank you. I just wanted to know how many participated, and that's a big impact, so thank you. Okay, brings us to item 7C, which is board policies, press 120. I'll turn it over to Dan.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for getting your feedback in. You'll find the board packet, the summary of everybody's feedback together, and just, I think, in the interest of time, I'm going to try to go through as quickly as possible, so if I'm going too quickly, just call me out. I'll try to slow down. So anyway, starting with policy 2:120, board member development. Feedback, all 7 of us accept changes presented. Any additional discussion? Okay, hearing none. 2:150 committees. I think we had a question under other committees. It says are required by law. Should we specify which do of those we have? How often do they meet? So, any discussion on that, or the other?
I mean, I asked the question, I think somebody else asked the question as well. I know that we have the bilingual parent advisory committee, but it wasn't clear to me in the policy which of those were required by law. It just says some are, and it seemed to imply that all of them were. I see the administration responses that primarily done through the building teams, and I can't off the top of my head recall, but there was one that required parents as well to be involved, so I just wanted some clarity on which ones are required by law, and that's the only one on that list in the policy.
We'll bring more information next month. That was a question we got recently. It's our understanding that we've complied with all the requirements, but we'll bring that back for next month for the second reading.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So we'll have additional information at the second reading. Moving on to policies 2:270, discrimination and harassment on the basis of race, color, and national origin prohibited, and 2:220 E4 exhibit, open meeting minutes. Both of them, the feedback was accept all changes from all of us. Any additional conversation on that? Those two? Okay. Moving on to policy 4:10, fiscal and business management. There was a suggestion to, under transfer of funds, use boxes to more clearly define the table that shows from and to funds. Do we have the ability to do the formatting in the, right? I think you're looking at some formatting in that. Is that right, Heather? I'm sorry.
That was
Greg?
great. I think we'd need admin's input probably.
Okay. And then it's suggestion to change district's internet website to district's website. I'm good with that. I think that's.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Sort of, websites are on the internet, so it's duplicate.
Yeah.
Good.
Right. Make that note. And administration provided feedback on the questions. Any additional information?
No.
Okay, great. So let me just make a note. All right. Looking at, all right. 4:30, revenue and investments. In comment on page 17, last paragraph, should the first sentence be deleted and/or outstanding added after rating of satisfactory in the second sentence, fourth line of that paragraph. And then under controls and report, a third paragraph add or designate after superintendents in the first line and after the second line. I'm fine with both of those. Any discussion? I think there was a question to the administration it's been answered for me, so any other discussion? Okay, so accept the changes with the suggested change?
I guess
Good
if
with
there's
that?
I'm sorry, I was just catching up. On page 17, Pam, can you clarify what the sentence would read then?
It would, let me see. Frisbee. So the first sentence would go out and it would be deleted, and then, let's see, after rating of satisfactory. So the institution has a current rating of satisfactory.
And just end the sentence there?
Should the first sentence be deleted and/or outstanding, so that it would say, subject to ICRA unless the institution has a current rating of satisfactory or, or excellent? Or outstanding. So the first sentence talks about the two ratings, unless it has a current rating of satisfactory or outstanding. So why not just say, in the second sentence then, if you look down the fourth line in that last paragraph, so unless the institution has a current rating of satisfactory or outstanding, rather than repeat the same thing. It's fine repeating it, I just thought
that the CRA and the ICRA were different. But I see what you're saying about,
Yeah.
like, if it's satisfactory, why do we have to say satisfactory or outstanding? So
Right.
I would be good with deleting the or outstanding, but I think the sentence itself should stay.
Okay. Is everybody good?
Are you sure there isn't, I'm on your, on deleting outstanding, based on, like, I'm wondering if that, maybe the two different things have, like, one says satisfactory and the other one says outstanding, and that's why they're both in there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if there's confusion, I would say just leave it. You know, there was just, I think they both refer to the, well, one to the CRA and the ICRA, but
Yeah, I would just want clarification on if that is important. Like, I don't want to, like, come back and say, well, now we can only use the
Yeah.
CRA and not the
Oh, then-
ICRA, you know, like, or.
I see what you're
That's what
saying,
I'm
like, if
wondering.
it's not, it is satisfactory or it was outstanding. I see
Yeah,
what you're saying.
outstanding.
yeah.
Then I say we can leave it.
Okay.
okay.
So we'll keep the.
Yeah, keep it.
Page 17 as is, page 18 we'll add or designee.
Mhm.
Okay. Moving on to policy 4:80, accounting and audits. Suggestion to add superintendent or designee. Now it's on that.
What was Randy, we'll decide at the meeting?
I got an answer to my question. That was just, I just thought, I wanted to see what the answer was before I answer. I'm fine with it. That was good.
I think we've got a couple of spots on or designee.
I think Kate had a question.
Kate, you had a question about dollar amount.
Yeah, page 21, under disposition of district property, where it says of diminutive value, do we need a dollar amount there? I mean, I don't think we need to know when we throw everything out, but if it's something real expensive, should there be an awareness?
Maybe we could get information back on that next time, or for a second reading also. I don't know what how diminutive would be defined. I mean, if, for a dollar amount, that's what she's asking.
Yeah, if you could give us a suggestion, we could definitely add what you would want to learn more about, like is there a
I think
threshold?
also is just what would be the dollar value for diminutive in this, on page 21. So
Okay.
maybe we could just get.
It just didn't get answered, I think.
Yeah, I had a formatting issue, may have not correctly sent Dan a lot of my stuff, so I apologize, Dan. But, yeah, I just, you know, in some organizations, if something's over, let's say, $5,000 or something at initial purchase, or over $10,000, when it's disposed of, there's a process for disposing of it, you know, because sometimes you can sell those, and I don't know how many items we have in that range, but just if we have anything that's larger value, is there a dollar amount where, like, an initial value dollar amount of the item, you would go through a process of alerting?
So, you know, we do have one where we approve things, any spend above, I mean, 25, 35,000.
Yeah.
I would
Do we need
think
to
we
ask-
need to get clarification and bring it
Yeah.
back for second reading.
Okay.
I would say Dave probably.
So the
would be
administration can
one.
provide some feedback on a dollar amount for diminutive value.
I really think it comes down to what you view as
Well-
being diminutive, but, I mean, if you want us to bring everything more than $5,000, we will, but if it's less than 5,000, we won't. Or is it 500? It's more what you're most comfortable with.
So are we defining diminutive ourselves? Or
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I think that's, okay, so
It says diminutive in here, so I don't think that there is, I don't know.
it is subjective, so, I mean, for me, does everybody recall the amount for what we have to prove for any purchases?
I'm 99% sure it was 25.
25, I'd say we'll line it to the same value, if they're gonna buy something for $25,000 or,
Kate, where on page 21?
That
does it-
first paragraph under disposition of district property, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down. Superintendent or designee may unilaterally dispose of personal property of a diminutive value. It just seems open-ended. If we had something really expensive, you know, sometimes things can be repurposed, resold.
Does 5,000 seem reasonable?
5,000, I mean, just in terms of like school property, that, you know, to me, 5,000 seems reasonable, but does that seem like a reasonable number of when you guys have the opportunity to, you know, like, if you're buying something from a company and, you know, do they take things back in or anything like that?
I'm understanding here, For example, when we moved to Lisle Elementary, we had a lot of leftover tables, desks, stuff. I think this is saying we can get rid of it without board approval so long as it's not material in terms of the amount. But I think that's subjective. So I'm throwing out, is anything under 5,000, would you trust us to get rid of it without board approval? Or is that too high of a number?
Or do we need a number? I guess that's the other part of the question.
Is there any frame of reference for a number? I mean, 5,000,
Keep everything, so I don't think we have any past experience to be able to say in general what we've done.
I meant like, do we know of any other districts that have a number or a process or anything like that?
I'm not aware of any, but if you want, we can look at other school districts to see if they defined how
You know,
much that is
I
and see
think
if you're
maybe it's
comfortable
helpful.
with it.
What would you assess as to minutes?
$5,000.
I mean, if you were looking at something and the staff came to you and said, I want to throw this out, $5,000 is about,
I think it's disposal also. I don't know if it necessarily means we throw it in the dumpster.
right, I
It
don't
means
mean,
like
yeah,
get rid of it.
dispose, I mean.
So that's why I'm asking what your number is. I said 5, but it sounds like that might be too high, so.
No, I'm fine with that, because it is basically, it's the superintendent or designee shall establish procedures, so it's whatever you would evaluate, I would think.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put $5,000 for next month, and then if you want to make it something different, we can make it for the
Does
approval.
that work?
Yeah, 5 is the number I had in my head. I just
Yeah,
wasn't sure with just what we're typically used to spending on things in the district, if I was off base in either direction on that. So that was, yeah, it's actually the dollar amount I was thinking of.
Okay. Okay.
I'm making some notes.
Should I take us to the
No,
next
yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah, I got it. Policy 4:140, waiver of student fees. We just had one question, I think, how does a parent guardian go through the process of asking for additional considerations on page 23? I don't think we did not get a response from the administration on that, or do we know?
Again, maybe we could
Have it-
bring that one back.
Yep.
I mean, it's a question, so it doesn't affect any of the changes within the text, so I would suggest.
Yeah, I think that the content looks great in this policy. I just want to make sure for those who need a consideration on a
The
fee, they
question.
know just where to go. And I don't know if they just all email Keith.
You want to come back at next
Yeah.
meeting? Okay. Moving on to policy 4:190, targeted school violence prevention program. We had a good reminder, as stated in the first paragraph, providing students and staff with access to a safe and secure district environment is an important board goal. So I think it was just a reminder, and
Just an
so
observation.
do we just accept changes as presented? All right, moving on to policy 510, equal employment opportunity and minority recruiting. I think is the section of the last line without evidence of past description necessary on page 28.
And I know we talked about it the last time this policy came up too, and I think we decided to just leave it. Well, we must have decided to just leave it because it's in here. I couldn't find my notes on it, but, I just read it again. I just feel like that last line just sits funny because we can't, without evidence of past discrimination, it's so open-ended. So does that then require us to give special preferential treatment or special rights? We talked about this. It reads funny and kind of has a funny implication for us, and I think the rest of the message I believe that paragraph is trying to send is an important message, but I feel we can still send that message by, or special rights based on a protected status, period. I'm not sure without evidence of past, I don't know if that helps the message at all that it's trying to send.
Maybe I'm reading it differently this time, but I agree. I mean, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the conversation too, and I think it didn't, was it a negative or anything in it,
Yeah.
but it really probably just reads well to drop it.
I'm
My
just
opinion.
curious, I'm reading it as, like, of how you're reading it, because I'm reading it as that the district can give preferential treatment based on a protected status, even if that status has not undergone any past discrimination. So your protected status, like, I imagine there's like a legal statute that I'm just like not aware of off the top of my head that would say that you would have to have had evidence of past discrimination on that protected status. So I'm just curious if that's what it is.
Or is it the
Oh.
protected status? You're reading, oh, I see,
The
you're
group,
reading it
yeah.
as protected status that didn't have evidence
Right.
of past discrimination. That makes a whole difference, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure which it is, because I think you're reading it as like an individual.
Yes.
I'm reading it as like an individual saying, I had past discrimination, I should
Yeah.
get preferential. Maybe it's just
It's the
an
protected
ELA
status.
situation that,
Yeah.
I think we just might have to look at those linked statutes to see if.
So according
Yeah.
to at least the internet, it says this policy establishes that the district cannot give preferential treatment or special rights to individuals based on protected classes without a specific legal reason, such as a court-ordered remedy or past discrimination.
That's-
So
that's what it-
it seems to have some legal contents besides an individual. It's more about the law.
And the class that is, yeah. So I would say that we probably should leave that.
I kind of like how what you had read, it almost makes more sense how you pulled it up. That's from the law itself. It reads more clearly with those additional wording, or maybe that's just my interpretation. I think I just really don't like this sentence and just how it flows.
It's come up twice, so if we want to change the wording, yeah, Dan, you can decide. I mean, do we want to bring suggested wording back instead for second reading?
Do you want me to? I am the one who feels passionate about the
Okay.
wording not representing the message, so maybe I'll,
Kate, if you could send
Give
to
a-
me some suggested language, that would be
yeah,
fantastic.
okay.
You can use the same Google search that Keith did and came up with
Yeah.
it.
Keith, if you could provide Kate what you read.
I'll ask ChatGPT if it can make a more
I'm
clarified
just
version of
handwriting
the
right
same
now what I
sentence.
saw, so we'll use what I read aloud for the next
Okay.
reading unless we get something
Okay.
different.
Okay.
Keith can do it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to policy 590, abuse and neglected children reporting. We just have one change to suggest or designee. Anybody, any other discussion? Everyone good with that? Good, accept with
Okay.
suggested
That's fine.
change. Okay, great.
With adding designee is fine.
Yep, okay, great. 5:100, staff development program. I think, Kate, you had a question about health conditions of students. That probably should have been on the other column.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and you
probably
know,
admin.
I think I just wanted to, as we're reviewing this again, I know we discussed this at length, but just to check in on the offerings and who's receiving them. It doesn't need to change the policy, just a general question. And so I think when we come back for a second, if Jason has that information by then, that would satisfy the questions I had in there.
Okay.
And the answer might be in the last time we did that policy.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it came up for admin question at that time, so we might have it already.
Search.
Yeah.
I think last time it comes up like the policy says every 5 years, when we talked about that's kind of too long for some of those, but Linda did share, because she was here for the last one, that it was more frequently, so I just wanted to check back in just to ensure we're still offering it at those frequency and validate who we're giving those to. And then on page 36, the concussion training, it doesn't have a cadence. And I was just wondering how often that's completed, because I read that as, do they just get it when they start in the district or start coaching? Like, should they be also receiving that if they're in one of the areas that, a PE teacher, a coach, et cetera, that could have students with concussions? Should there be a cadence to that teaching, or like a brief refresher course?
And I think I thought Linda addressed that last time also, but maybe if we just check what the note said last time and also have them check it now.
Okay. If they need something, though, where they need to do that, should that be in the policy if they need to do like every 3 years or something like that, that they do a refresher?
I thought Linda said that it was state law, the amount that they had, or how often they had to do it. I think that's why we didn't change anything, because it was listed in the state law and it could get changed over time, and then we have to go back in and change the policy every time. I don't know if we want to have it refer to the particular law where it states it. I don't know.
The law there that's linked there says that it has to be renewed every 2 years.
Okay.
The statute says
So the
that.
law.
Okay.
But who knows how, like, when that's changed or updated.
Should we just have that in there as long as that's what the statute says?
I think we would
Not.
keep it as
Or-
what the linked to that statute, because it's linked right there in number 3. If you click on that link and do a search for concussion, you'll see it in there. And so it's in accordance with that law.
So
Okay,
rather-
so the cadence would come up then in accordance with the law.
And that
Yeah.
way if they change it, then.
We don't have to change
It'll
it.
change
Right.
automatically,
Yeah.
like, and
Okay.
we're linked.
And I think they're just saying, like, in the past, like, you could take it once you were hired, and then after 2014, you have to take it before.
Okay. And then they keep up with the cadence in the
Yeah.
law. Yeah, so then I could just, as long as Jason just validates we are at that rhythm, that would be great.
He sent me a text. We require the PE teachers and the coaches to take it every year.
Even better. Thank you.
Done.
Okay, so do we want administration to follow up on that, or do we accept
They did.
changes? I
There's a check mark already next to it, Dan. We're
Yep,
done.
it's
We're
done.
moving on.
Great, check. All right, great. Policy 5:190, teacher qualifications. I think I have my comment in the wrong spot, so ignore my comment on there. But we just accept all changes presented?
Yeah, what?
You had a suggestion, though,
Yeah,
do
what
you?
was yours?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. I'm on policy 5:190.
Oh, it's just where they changed the wording from child pornography to
Yes.
child material, or child sexual abuse material. So it looks like you wanted to make it an and/or and not cut out child pornography?
Yeah, I don't know, it just seems that they're two
Yeah.
different, they're potentially two different things, or one's more definitely,
I don't know. I would guess legally they put it, I don't know.
I don't know,
Is that just new state law terminology for what pornography was historically defined as?
see, that's, I think,
I don't know the answer. I'm just,
Sure. Let's see.
We could probably click those laws below and,
Yeah.
and do some research on it.
but I'm fine with taking their suggestion, but
It's yours, what do you want done? It was your suggestion, I think.
right now I'm having trouble finding that. What page is that? I'm just for some reason not finding it.
32, I think. Hold on.
Page
Let me go
32?
back up. No, sorry, 31.
But isn't it with 5190?
That's one thing I'm thinking.
So it's 5190, but that's.
Oh,
not
funny, it's in here, too. Okay, never mind.
five-
It was in 5:90 also, the
Maybe,
same wording.
maybe it's in the wrong spot on the,
I think I put it in the wrong spot. I put my own question in the wrong spot. Yes, okay, yeah, so this is policy 590, which we passed already. It was, so it's really backing up to policy 590.
Yeah.
and where is it on 590?
Page 31, and it's the
Right in the middle.
highlighted, the green highlight on
Okay.
there. Do you see
Oh, if
that?
it's,
So they just took out pornography and,
if it's a
Added
press
sexual
action
abuse
on it, I
material.
would think they did it for a reason.
I just looked Dan, I thought it was really helpful that you included that press memo, because when I read that first, and then I felt like it cut down my policy reading time like in half.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it gave me like look-fors, so thank you so much. But I just went
in there, yeah.
and looked there, and it just said that the reason for that change is because of the particular policy has changed the term.
Okay.
Had Jason, I know Jason provided that, but.
Jason,
Yeah, but,
all credit goes to Jason.
yeah,
on
I just
including the
wondered if
memo.
we've gotten
Thank you,
those in the
Jason.
past, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
Wanted
so
to
we'll
give him
keep
the shout out.
backing up, we accept changes as presented
Yes.
on
Yeah, that's fine.
590, but fast forward into 5:190, accept changes as presented. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, make that note. All right, sorry for the confusion. Policy 5:200, terms and conditions of employment and dismissal. Greg, you suggested under nursing mothers, the wording,
It seemed like more of a statement than a policy, like should it be the district shall accommodate employees or will accommodate employees? It's not a big deal, I just thought it was not typical of policy language, but of course it could just be that this is a statement that we just make. I wasn't certain.
And where in that, what, I see the page, but, oh, I see.
Down
it.
towards the bottom.
Right in
Okay.
the middle of the page.
Okay.
just one thing I did to find it, if you do a quick search on the words that are in the consolidated sheet, you can find
Yeah.
someone's comment faster.
Yeah.
Just a little tip. All right, so do we want to change anything there, or just accept? You're fine.
I'm comfortable if we want
Yeah,
to keep
I guess
it
it's
the
okay.
All right,
same.
we'll accept
Yeah.
changes as presented. All right.
I think it's a.
Moving on to policy 5:220, substitute teachers. I think everyone accept changes, but Kate, you had a question about when a coach is hired into solely that role, how to ensure duties are performed, but I think earlier tonight we had that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we accept changes as presented?
Yes.
Great. Moving on to policy 5:280, duties and qualifications. We had everybody accept the changes presented, but we had also a question about how does the district validate coaches, knowledgeable regarding coaching principles. I think we kind of addressed that earlier, so we're good. Accept changes presented. Any other
Yeah,
discussion?
sorry, I might have put that in the same spot twice.
No, Heather had
Oh, she did, oh, you did, okay.
great minds. 5:300, schedules and employment year. Greg, you're asking if the nursing mother section is supposed to be reiterated here.
That, or I guess I should have said, or through should just be, a reference. Instead of reiterating the entire paragraph. Because if we're required to do that, then it's fine. That or should be.
Reference it or something.
Right, reference it to whatever policy it sort of
Came out of.
embedded in.
Again,
Yeah,
there's,
because it's meant, this is dropped in a few other policies, and I'm like, well, why would we have it in multiple places? When we have it in one place, then have them all reference that one place.
Turn your mic on.
Oh. So my point was, now that my microphone is on, should we just have references to one policy where this statement is put, or are we required to put this in these multiple policies? I don't know off the top of my head.
I think this one also talks about compensation, whereas the other one just talked about
No, it's the same wording from the previous
the
section.
exact same.
It's the exact same wording, yeah. That's why I was,
I don't mind leaving the call out to name that specific need, because sometimes it could be overlooked.
okay. I mean, I'm fine either way. I just,
Yeah.
normally we go for some amount of brevity.
Yep.
A very small amount of brevity.
Probably we'll just keep it in there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to we'll accept changes presented. Policy 6:20, we're halfway through. 6:20, school year calendar and day. I think we had another nothing.
Same thing.
You're good?
Yeah.
Accept changes as presented? Okay, great. Moving on to 6:40 curriculum development. We have a suggestion to add "or designee" after superintendent. And we had some questions to the administration. I don't think, Randy, it's yours.
It answered mine because Heather asked the same question.
Heather
It was
asked it, so we're
like, mine
good.
just was wordier.
Nothing's addressed, so we accept changes as presented with the one change.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. Policy 6:60 curriculum content. For board discussion, on page 52, item number 16, should this read career and technical education instead of vocational to match the earlier language? What could we find there?
It just looked like, from reading that press document, that the terminology was changing from career and technical instead of vocational, but then it's listed as vocational in item 16. So if we wanted to keep the nomenclature the same.
I think we've tried to be consistent in the past, so I
That
would agree.
seems like a
I'm
good,
great.
Good
I'm
yeah.
catch.
And Heather, you want some discussion, so I think we're all good with that change, right, for vocational? Before we go on Heather, and you had some thoughts around online safety we included, I think, earlier?
Well, we have, let me see if I can track it down in the actual wording, but we currently have in there that we're doing online safety or cyber training, I'm not sure how it's worded, but in K through 12. And that's being struck out in favor of now it's a legal requirement to do it starting in grade 3 through 12 perhaps. And so my question is, do we want to completely take out K through 12 for beginning that age-appropriate instruction on online safety, given that our students are using Chromebooks as early as kindergarten, starting to take them home around 2nd and 3rd grade? I think the administration response was that it's informally in the curriculum, or not informally, I don't exactly remember the wording, but in practice, they begin instruction on this. And I don't know if we're beginning instruction on this because it's in policy, and now we're taking that out. Should we leave it in? That's my question.
Let me read this.
I mean, I kind of like, 3rd grades, they're 8 years old, they know how to Google, right? I mean, I like it, I support having it, some level of online safety sooner than later.
It just seems like the law says you're required starting at grades 3, but we happen to do it earlier than grades 3, so I don't know if board policy should direct when we do it. I think board policy reflects when we're required to do it, but if we do more than, which is what we're doing, it's fine.
Well, unless we want that to be the policy, like if we want to do more than what's required, wouldn't you put it in policy then?
I mean, currently in policy, item 6 is
Yeah.
in grades kindergarten through 12. And that now we're noting that would just be through the end of 2027, the 2026, 2027 school year. And then 7 would kick in where we're saying now it's grades 3 through 8. And then 9 through 12 has a separate item. So this is maybe a pet passion for me, so we don't have to spend all night talking about it, of course. But I do think that if we're already doing it in K through 12, there's, in my opinion, no harm in having a quick discussion about whether we want it to be in policy, that we do it earlier than grades 3, even though 3rd grade is when we're legally required to do it now.
Heather, I would agree with you. I think there's a lot of 5-year-olds who are on the internet quite a bit. And I think anything we can do to keep our kids safe is one of the most important things we do. I would support our policy aligning that down to kindergarten.
I think if we do it, I would just add, they changed the wording a little bit, and instead of just age appropriate, they put age and developmentally appropriate. And I think maybe adding that to the policy we had, just so that it's consistent with that part of the law, would be good.
We might
But I
also,
support the earlier.
we might also want to look back right at it's page 51, the very first sentence. These are required by state statute or regulations as follows. So, again, we'd probably have to specify, although not required by state, we would, if we're going to add K through. So the state statute is changing, or the regulations are changing in 2027. So if we want the earlier thing, or if we want to define that we would implement K through 3, that would not be in state statute. So we'd want to define that in the policy, that although not required by state statute or regulations. So, I mean, that's,
So I think you're saying something like, although the state statute states grades 3 through 12 are district, will by policy have K through 12 age-appropriate education, something along that line?
and do we need to get more admin input on something like that? I don't know.
I think it would be good to talk to Jason and have them, see if there's a reason why you wouldn't want it that way, like, I don't know.
Especially for the elementary admin to weigh in on it. I mean, it could come back at second reading, we could make that decision, but, so I would think we'd want.
Okay. So let's,
I do find it interesting that they're also cutting it out after 8th grade. Like, not only are they.
So that's my follow-up point. It's 9 through 12 is split out. It appears in number 20, actually.
Oh, way down there, okay.
Because they add in media literacy as part of the requirement. And that was one of my other comments, was that in number 20, the last sentence or two here, it requires a unit of instruction on media literacy and internet safety that includes but is not limited to, and then it lists for the following topics. None of those following topics apply to actually internet safety. They're all media literacy.
Right.
So my comment was, should we add like something in there, D, and topics on it? We don't need to specify what those are, but that we're clear that it should also have internet safety component versus just media literacy, because this is the age group that is actually probably most in need of this instruction. And so I want to make sure that that's explicit in our curriculum, but again, that's.
If you look at the press 15 below, it does delineate some of what should be included in the curriculum. So it says in there that, like, it's, what page is this on? 57, it's like right in the middle where it's press plus 15, which is what was referenced in number 20. And it talks about, like halfway through, it should be age and developmentally appropriate for each grade, teach about harmful physical, emotional, and psychological effects with unhealthy use of the internet and social media, and provide information on resources to report cyberbullying. So it does have some elements of that internet safety.
Copy and paste, put it right
Yeah.
up there. I think those are great
So, like,
topics. That's
delineate
what I
out.
felt like was missing from that section. It didn't really spell out what they meant by internet safety. It was
And-
focused on media literacy.
If you look at 5, it spells it out for, press plus 5 spells it out for the earlier number
Does.
6.
So it might be useful. I mean, it is cross-referred to the code or the statute, just to cut and paste those sections and put them up with
For
K
clarity.
through 3, yeah, and the,
Yep. I think that's
is that,
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. I think it should be more explicit
Yeah.
in the policy.
So if I was to relay this to Jason, you're saying take press plus 5 and cut and paste it and move it up?
And
Sorry, and that one goes into number 6,
So number
where it's referenced.
5 goes into number 6.
And then number 15 goes into 20. Press 15 goes into number 20 on the
20
policy.
above, yeah.
Okay.
number 15 and number 20.
They're linked there too.
Yeah.
It's linked in those numbers, so.
Perfect.
he can-
We'll take care of it.
Thanks.
Jeez.
Not going there. All right. Any other, we had some questions to the administration. They've come back with answers on most of them. I think, Kate, I don't think, reading through yours, see if are we offering? I don't think we've got responses on your questions.
Yeah, just, and we can get that from Jason next time. Just, I noticed in section 1, it was cursive instruction. I'm not sure if we're offering that like routinely and just how we're incorporating that into the curriculum. Section 4, I noticed that they call out fentanyl only for, let me just scroll back up here. But the avoidance of drugs and alcohol and the dangers of fentanyl. Should it say fentanyl and other opioids? I mean, fentanyl is very dangerous, but it's not the only dangerous opioid. And I know they're saying drugs, and yes, that could cover them, but I just, I don't know if there's a reason why we want to call that one out, not call out opioids in general in addition to it. I'm not saying remove the word fentanyl, but maybe
And other opioids, or?
fentanyl and other opioids. Well, methods of opioid and substance abuse. It just feels funny that that one was called out solely.
I always find it interesting, in some cases in policy, they call out something very specific, or like we see the list of they say, oh, these topics, not just what's included here, but.
They give specific examples.
Yeah, when they give specific examples, it's always, I don't know.
And I'm reading this again too, which makes, I feel like, less sense, but grades K through 4, developmentally appropriate discussion, effective methods of prevention of the dangers of opioids. But then, by the time you're grade 6 through 12, it's only the dangers of fentanyl. They stay dangerous.
I would just say, and other
Yeah.
opioids.
Okay, I just want to make sure we
I mean,
cover
I think that's a good
Yeah.
addition.
all of it. And then, what was my other, sections 14 and 15. Just looking at what are the cadence, so the dangers of allergies must be taught, and the properly administer CPR and a defibrillator. Do we teach those in health class? And do we need to call it out that those are covered in the required health class? Because I believe when we did the previous thing, that's one of our required credits, is they all take health. Are those done in health class? And do we need to call out that those are done through the health class?
That's your question.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all listed there. Yeah, it's no different than.
I think we got these a few hours ago, so Jason
Yeah,
was
that's
at
okay, we
the
can-
walk-in
yeah.
care, so we'll get this for you next.
Okay.
And if I recall, I'd have to look back at the school improvement plan for LES, but I believe cursive was included in there, but
I can
maybe we could check that too.
I can say my second grader, my now third grader, did cursive in second grade. He had a workbook.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because I remember saying it's back now, so I.
It's right, because it was, I mean, I have older kids. I know it was gone for a period of time and not being taught, and now I see it in there. So it is back. I just want to confirm.
I mean,
it's
I don't know if it was mandated by the curriculum, but I definitely saw the cursive workbook coming home.
Yeah, and then I know it used to be teacher discretion years ago, but I'm real dating myself with that one, so.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on 6:60? Okay. Moving on to 6:190, or sorry, 6:160, English learners. We just had a couple questions to the administration. I don't see answers for these, but we'll just ask administration to
Yeah,
reply.
that can come back. Oh, okay, I think Jen has a.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, I said if you let me know what the question is, I might be able to help.
Yeah, the question is, have we applied for and received grant money for English learners and programs to serve them? And the second question, is the information cited regularly shared with parents, guardians of English learners?
So the first question about the grant, you have to have a certain number of students in order to be eligible for it, otherwise you have to combine with other districts, and we haven't had enough.
Okay.
This will be the first year that we need to determine if it's worth, if it's worth all the paperwork.
Okay.
Additional work for the department.
Oh, your microphone.
That is due, and to apply, is due in April.
Your microphone.
Is your microphone on?
That does answer the question, though.
Okay, but yeah, okay, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
again.
But we got this, so we got the answer.
So-
Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't had enough students in the past to be eligible for the grant, but I think this year we will. The intent to apply is in April, so
we'll have to decide if the money that, because we just will barely make the threshold. So it won't be a very large grant. So we'll have to determine if the extra man hours of the business department is worth all of the extra paperwork that we would get from however much it is. It's not much. And then the other question was about, what, notifying families?
Yeah, is the information cited regularly shared with parents, guardians of English learners?
And
This says, it's in reference to number 8.
Number 8, so whenever a student is eligible for EL service, a letter goes home to them, letting them know, like that initial screening lets them know your child, was screened, and this is where they scored, and so they're eligible for service. And the parents have to respond saying, I don't want it, otherwise their child gets it. And then that happens from that year on. They take the access test, and depending on what they score in the access test, the parents receive a letter explaining what services the child will receive. Parents can always opt out, but if they don't opt out, then the student gets the service.
Okay.
Does it include how the program will specifically help their child learn English and meet age-appropriate academic achievement standards?
Yeah, it has like a blanket statement on there. They're not individualized by students.
Okay.
It's just individualized by your student's name, their grade, and what their scores were. The rest of it's a blanket statement.
Okay. It probably follows this, and so,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Be my guess.
Okay, so with that, are we good to accept changes as presented then?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Law. Dr. Law. All right. All right, moving on to 6:260, complaints about curriculum, instructional materials, and programs. I think we've all had feedback to accept changes presented. Any discussion?
No.
Okay. Next question is 6:280, grading promotion. I think, Randy, you had some potential things you would like to discuss?
You can decide now.
I don't know what I was referencing here, actually. Hold on. I think I'm fine with this. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think I accidentally copied that into that square.
All right, I think we had, any other discussion then?
That's what's, no, it's on the next one where I had the will vote. Because I had said something about the, on the next, it's on the graduation requirements. It just had needed a correction.
Okay. All right, so if there's no more discussion, 6:280, 6:300, graduation requirements, I think we, well, there needs to be a space between on and patriotism.
Yeah.
Lots of catches on that.
Everybody noticed that.
We were all over this.
I missed it.
I missed it too.
You caught a lot tonight, don't worry.
Yeah, it's.
That's why we're a team.
So, yeah, so on page 64, last paragraph, should and substitutions approved by building principals or designees be inserted after school code? There.
Since we changed that policy for the exceptions for, or the substitutions, I thought perhaps the policy is referenced on the bottom, but it just seems like it's also worth repeating the and substitution exceptions there.
I'm okay with that. But,
I'm good with it. And then on page 64, is there an opportunity to keep methods of voting in our district-specific policy?
I was wondering about that also, so I'm glad you called that out.
Yeah, just, I think that's something that is, they're still young and can be a source of confusion. We have students who, while they're still with us at the high school, are voting or able to vote legally for the first time. So just understanding how they can do that, what options they have. And I know that this is part of the test. It is how I'm reading it, an examination on it. And I read the Press Plus too. I was surprised that the Pledge of Allegiance was removed. I don't know if that's something, is this like a standardized test, or do we have the option of putting those things back in? Especially the methods of voting, I think there's
I think we say the Pledge of Allegiance regularly, so the kids would know it by then, but, the methods of voting, I think is just an important life skill that I'm not sure where else they would get that knowledge if we removed it.
I'm good with keeping it. I like it.
Yeah, I'm good with keeping it too.
Okay. So I think we accept changes with the suggested changes. They're in columns D and E. Okay, excellent. Moving on to the next 4 policies.
Oh, I had
sorry.
one more on
Did you have one more?
67. I'm sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead.
No, and this one was just, when I was reading through the PE requirements here, I noticed that in our other policy, 6310, we have just a really well put together exemption list for PE requirements. And I know it's a reference, but I just don't know if it needs to be called out more here, because as they describe all the things about fulfilling your PE requirements, it talks about students with IEPs who need that time set aside. It may exempt them. But I don't know if we need to, at the end of that paragraph, say, or students who meet, like, exemption standards in policy 6:310. It just, and I know it's a reference, but it's not linking it to that they still need to graduate.
So like a sentence in there that says that.
Yeah, because if you look through, it still says 4 units of physical education, including 1/2 unit of health education, but we do have, I know we spent time on that last year on 6:310, building that and having that good exemption list. So if you are exempt, you're not getting 4 units of PE, correct? And so in here, it calls out the IEP being a reason to not have 4, but doesn't call out the exemption list we have in that other policy.
I think that kind of goes with what I was saying above, too. It's cross-reference, but if we just simply add "and substitutions," or "and exemptions," something
Yeah.
to that nature, a few words. So same thing kind of we were going to add above.
So you're saying
Nobody's going to,
Like the substitutions listed in
Right.
this policy or whatever, the 6 colon blah, blah, blah.
so it's not like a student with a disability who has an IEP.
Yeah, I think that's all fine and good. What's in there, I think, is fine. It's just, and conveniently, it's the next policy down. It's about substitutions for required courses, or do we need to say, maybe just as a whole separate line, or who meet criteria for substitutions for, what's the word, wording we have here? Substitutions for required courses as outlined by policy 6:310. I just know the gym piece has come up.
right. And you're concentrating on that last paragraph, am I correct?
Yeah,
Of
that
say-
last
okay.
paragraph,
And
yeah.
that's the same thing that I had set up there. So I would think, maybe we can just work on some wording. It's
Which paragraph is it under the certificate?
It's the last paragraph of page 64, right?
64.
Last paragraph is
64.
64.
students with IEPs, all students. Okay,
Well,
so it'd
then
be
it-
that first sentence, unless exemptions are met.
Oh, I mean, unless
substitutions?
otherwise exempted. Oh, yeah.
Oh, with exemptions as cited in the school code of Illinois, you could just put like with the exemptions listed in policy, blah, 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 blah. whatever.
But they're
Yeah.
really substitutions, they're not exemptions, so,
Yeah, you're right, they're substitutions, because we're
Oh,
letting people take like
That's
AP,
true. Okay.
chemistry.
Maybe that's why it's the way it
shall
is then.
pass, so the first sentence, if we just said, shall successfully pass physical education or substitutions each semester, and then the substitutions are listed in 6310. Would that,
Yeah, should we put it
or
there?
approve substitute, that should be the other factor,
Yeah.
and it's approved.
Or approve substitutions as
this-
outlined in policy 6:310.
Yeah.
We don't, well.
Do they
whatever you guys
require
think,
one
We don't
half unit?
generally
Yeah.
cross-refer to other sections within the context, but if they're listed below, but whatever you guys.
But they are, that's the same policy, so like it's listed in this policy right here.
Right.
So as.
It's cross-referenced
Yeah.
in the bottom,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or should we say, Pam, you just had really good wording, or
Well, just
approve
that first sentence,
substitutions.
also with the exceptions as citing, or what did I say? And successfully pass physical education or approve substitutions each semester.
I said, pass physical education or approved substitutions as described in policy 6:310.
I would just leave the
Yeah.
policy, it's cross-referred at the bottom, so
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my thoughts.
As long as the policy is in there somewhere as reference, I think that's great, because that policy I felt was very thorough, and, I like, or approve substitutions, whatever Pam just
I
said.
think I
was-
said should add, well, in my comments were, should and substitutions approved by the building principal or designee. It be inserted before the school code of Illinois, so in that sentence, so.
You're saying have it up above, Pam?
Yeah, in that very, well, either way, but I think it would flow better with that first sentence, to be inserted in that first sentence.
Yeah, that makes sense, because then it could just apply to everything.
So with the exceptions and substitutions approved by the building principal or designee, and successfully pass physical each semester.
Yeah, something like that.
So I guess it would be
All students.
after school code of Illinois, just insert the and substitutions approved by the building principal or designee, and pass physical education each semester. We can play
Yeah.
around with it if you want for second reading.
Yeah.
So I'll just make sure I catch the essence of this. Basically, change that first sentence, say, all students with the exception of, as cited in the school code of Illinois and substitutions approved by building principal or designee, ...
Yeah, I think that
working?
covers it,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Anything else before we move on to the next one? Okay. The next four policies, I think we've all replied except changes presented, so it's 6:310, high school credit for non-district experiences, core substitutions, reentering students. 6:315, high school credit for students in grade 7 or 8. Policy 6:320, high school credit for proficiency. And 7:10, equal educational opportunities. Any discussion on any of those four?
No.
Right. Okay, moving on to policy 7:170, agency and law enforcement requests. Consider adding or designees after superintendent in the last paragraph. Any objections to that? Okay. And then we had some suggestions in 6C is present during questioning up to the front of the sentence to clarify. So make reasonable efforts to ensure the student's parent guardian is present during questioning or ... Or no, and C, if practicable, make reasonable efforts to ensure a trained law enforcement officer to promote safe interactions and communications with the student is present during questioning.
I agree, is present, it flows better. Is that what you were looking at, Heather?
Yeah, sorry, it took me a minute to catch up to where I was actually talking about it, but it already says this, it's just
Yeah, it's
flipped
worded
around, it's
weird.
kind of
I would
weird,
agree.
so.
Yeah,
Is present to promote, so just move.
yeah.
It's present during questioning to promote safe interactions.
So how do you want the language?
I think it would read, if practicable, make reasonable efforts to ensure a trained law enforcement officer is present during questioning,
Thank you.
and then to promote safe interactions.
Okay. On page 77, press plus 7, does admin recommend that all the listed standards be included? And,
Those were admin questions.
Yeah.
So I think I would just move those over and get those for second reading.
so we'll make that change, that one sentence, and we'll have administration come back with more information on those questions.
Yeah, unless someone here.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Moving on to policy 7:70, attendance and truancy. With a question or discussion, what is the process for grade 9 through 12? Should that be added to policy? And I think that should have probably been under questions for administration, right? Or discussion.
Where was I wrote page
78,
78, which is a reference list, so I was writing it in the right place.
That referred to that there was a plan in place to call after 2 hours if a student in grades 8 or below were absent.
Oh, yes, that is the one. Do we call, I think I was just on the wrong page there, yeah. So we have it for grades 8 and below, oh yeah, it's page 80. If, within 2 hours after the first class, if someone grades 9 through 12 is absent, shouldn't we be calling their parents as well, or do we not call once they get into high school?
Oh, we do apparently. That's what Jenna says we call.
We call.
It goes after your parents' work.
Do you call, what if the child is 18?
It still goes out to the parent or guardian who is listed in parents' work.
Okay.
So then should we just change that to, or should we not even have grades in there, right? Like, parents and guardian of students after 2 hours in the first class, they will be they'll be contacted.
That's fine. I think it just added more to have students 8
Well,
and under.
just to clarify, because this is specifically a telephone call, not a notification. So
That's true.
Parent Square would be just a notification, but this is suggesting that like grades 8 and below would get a phone call from a human to let them know. And so do we want to check with the administration if that's feasible for including 9 through 12 for a help?
It is a phone call. It's
From
just a
Parent Square?
robocall.
Okay.
Like,
Well, then,
it's
never mind.
It's a phone call through the system, so they get a phone call, a text, and an email.
Okay. Fine. I got a call from a human, so I wasn't sure if it was different.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, so we could change it then, if they're all getting phone calls, then we can change it to have, just remove
Remove the
grade 8.
8 and under.
Well, I'm glad we're calling everyone, because I would still be worried if my
Yeah.
10th grader wasn't at school.
Okay, we'll change it to include K-12. Okay. Any other discussion on 7:70? Okay. Moving on to 7:180, prevention and response to bullying, intimidation, harassment. I think Kay just called out that AI section was an important addition. For formatting, I think Heather, you indicated anonymous reporting, page 84.
So we looked at this in June 2025, is that what this is saying?
so for formatting, the formatting one on page 84, it seems like anonymous reporting should be indented with complaint managers, right?
Oh, tab, anonymous reporting, you'd be in the same line with complaint manager.
I would think so, otherwise it looks like a heading, and then it goes to
yeah.
number 4. and
Oh,
it's-
yeah,
I
that's
think it's
weird.
meant to be
Yeah.
in there. And then I don't also, number 11 in this policy, that's why I asked the question of where we were at in the review cycle. In June 2025, I was here, but I was fresh, so I can't be blamed for not remembering that we reviewed this. But what I don't remember is, because it talks about a specific process for when we review this, the information that we should be looking at, because we're not reviewing the policy, but it's suggesting that we should be reviewing the effectiveness of the policy and receiving some data. And so my question was whether this is something that we've looked at recently in terms of the frequency of victimization, types of bullying, where areas in the school where bullying is occurring. Those are the things that are specifically called out in this policy. So that was my question.
Like you're thinking like a presentation for a future board meeting, just for awareness?
Or if it's just, I'm not really sure how this is traditionally done. Apparently, we just did it. But I guess what I'm saying is on page 86, there is a process that's specifically spelled out for how we review the effectiveness of this policy. My question is whether we've recently done that or not.
That's the question I had, I think, in June when we reviewed the policies, was what approach did we want to take? And so maybe we should talk about that at a future, that should be our topic of discussion for a future board meeting, is how are we, when we're under our 2 or 5-year reviews, what's our process? Because I was very confused in June.
Like,
or maybe
what's
it was
the
July.
data we're
Yeah.
getting?
How do we know if there's a concern if we haven't talked about it before? And so maybe developing a process, I would welcome that, if that's what you mean. Like, how are we approaching this?
I do.
Yeah.
That is what I mean. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably true for all policies. And I think at the time, I remember that conversation was like, well, during the policy review, we can ask questions about how we're doing this in the district. This one was a little called out specifically to me that I think state law requires us to evaluate the effectiveness through the policy that's defined in, or the process that's defined in this policy. So I don't know if those are 2 separate conversations.
I think they might be. And I think that both of them are good.
Agree.
For the future, yeah.
So a future board meeting to discuss if these review, if we'll have data on bullying, et cetera, to understand the effectiveness of this policy, basically? Okay, great. Pam's got it. All right. Any other discussion on 7:180? Okay, so accept the changes presented with the addition of tabbing to align the announced reporting with the complaint managers and then the future board meeting. Okay. 7:190, student behavior. There was a question to the administration. I think, Pam, did you answer satisfactory?
Yeah, I think so. I mostly brought it up because I noticed it was in one of the principal's newsletters, there was a reminder to parents about cell phones, their child using cell phones. So I think they're continuing to examine it, so that's the answer.
Okay.
I mean, that's a suitable answer.
Okay, to accept changes as presented? Okay. Moving on to policy 7:290, suicide and depression awareness prevention. Pam, you had a question to the administration, they've answered it. Good? Okay, we accept, any other discussion?
I'm fine with all the changes in the content, just what Heather shared earlier kind of sparked my thoughts when I read through that policy. Maybe some of the plans and different stuff, if we're going to do like a presentation or some information on bullying, maybe we could bring some of the work that they said that we're supposed to have this strategic plan to that meeting, things just so we can have more knowledge on what, I feel like the 2 are kind of linked.
Which is that then?
On the suicide and depression, they just talked about like, we'll have a plan, and review it, and I think that's just for the district to do, but if we're bringing back a bullying, some additional information, which I think is a great idea, just maybe we could just do the whole thing all together.
Okay, and just so I can highlight it for the, which number or which bullet on page 97?
7290.
So just the suicide and depression awareness and preventive program, and then?
Yeah.
What is the programming? What are the stats for that? Do we have any issues?
Yeah. What's our?
You want to, and the prevention program?
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's the first sentence. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on 7:290? 7:310, restriction on publications, elementary schools. Pam, you had a question. Was it answered satisfactorily?
I was writing this down, I'm sorry. Which one are you on 7315?
310.
310? Yeah, that was fine.
Okay, great, do it. Any other discussion on that? Accept changes as presented. And then 7:315, restrictions on publications, high schools. I think, Pam, you had some questions, but I don't see a response from administration.
Yeah, can I go back to 7310?
Yeah.
The only reason I brought that up is a second students, it may be only to address students, but it's social media postings, it addresses students. But there's certainly been, in fact, there was a summary in the Trib today of an incident that went on in one of the northern suburbs where a staff member was involved in posting something, and it became, a long-standing legal matter. I just thought it was a good reminder for staff members, or a good opportunity to also remind staff members not to post anything on social media that could be disruptive to the school environment. I know that particular school has a very detailed restriction on staff postings, but I don't see it anywhere else, so that's the only reason I asked. And if
So
we're
you
interested,
Didn't see, it's not listed in any other policies,
I
like?
didn't see it
with
under the
reference to
media.
staff?
under
Okay.
the- Yeah, but, it's up to you, it's fine. But it's more as a caution, as a safeguard.
Pam, did you want to look at policy 5125 at another board
Yeah, and
meeting?
I have, but we can also pull that one.
I was just, yeah, that might.
And 125, whether, I guess that's what you're saying is, whether we should expand that, because it's their 125 that is expanded in great detail. So, we could at a future meeting also review that policy.
Okay.
All right. So accept changes, but look at policy 5:125 in the future. Okay. Anything else? Get back to 7:315. I think administration didn't reply to, so administration will address the questions in second reading. Sounds good. All right. The next two, 7:340, student records, 8:30, visitors to and conduct on school property. Everyone respond, accept changes as presented. Any discussion on those two?
No.
All right, accept changes as presented, and we are done.
Okay, and then under 7315, that last one, that's where again, it's a reference to including staff members, so maybe instead we're going to tie that in with 5125, so they don't. The answer above also addressed that answer.
Okay. So do you want to?
No.
Accept changes as presented with 7315?
Yeah, sure,
Oh, okay.
sure. I just wanted to point that out. It's the same question, it's the same answer, and
Okay.
we're actually
Okay.
going to try to tie it in
Sounds
with
good.
the other.
All righty. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you, Dion. Thank you all. This brings us to 7D, which is Freedom of Information requests, which were in the file, or in our packet, rather. And 7E, public comment follow-up. We had none last month for follow-up. So 7F is our superintendent's report.
Based on it being near 10:30, I know we've had a lot of great presentations, so included in your board information tonight is the written report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions or highlights? Okay. Then 8 is our committee reports. 8A, facility master planning did not meet. 8B, finance.
Finance met at 6:45 in this very room. We took a little bit more time than we normally do, but it was an important topic of the tentative levy for this year.
Thank you. And policy?
We also met in this very room, in this very meeting, And went over 37 exciting policies.
Okay, and we'll be bringing that back for second reading. So Vision 202, which is item D, did not meet. Agenda item 9, board representative reports. All of those listed, which is home and school, IESB, 9C, intergovernmental, 9D, LEND, and 9E, Lisle Education Foundation, as well as 9F, SASSA did not meet. So it brings us to item 10, which is agenda items for future board meetings. We have 2 policy ones, but I also wanted to mention, it was brought up that our December meeting is on a Tuesday, because we move it up a week, and that conflicts with Lisle Junior High Band and Choral presentation. Would we be interested in perhaps changing that to Wednesday? So it would go from Tuesday to Wednesday, or would that be a conflict? It would be December 17th.
I do have a conflict on that night.
Okay.
A similar choral concert, but it is at a different school.
Okay, okay.
I have a junior high student, so if I'm the only one impacted, I think we keep the meeting.
And, or the same if you move it to, I actually probably could make it to the board meeting and just not make it to finance, if you move it to the Wednesday.
I leave it up to all of you to.
I would have to miss finance too, probably. But otherwise, I could do the 17th if it's.
I can do either, Pam.
Okay, Heather, it makes no difference?
No difference.
Okay, so both, I mean, it wouldn't conflict with getting back in time?
I think I can make it by 7:30. I just may have to drive separately, but I think I can make it by 7:30. I just would not, I know I would not make finance.
Okay. Oh, Greg, Dr. Filipiak, do you have any, there were no issues, I guess, with moving it to Wednesday, so we could do that. And you'll be here. I hate to do it to.
I'll rearrange my thing. I can move it.
Okay, all right. We will plan to move the meeting then to the 17th, and if something changes with yours, let me know. Okay, so that was a future agenda, a future board meeting topic, actually. So the other agenda items that I had was, pardon me?
If there is an issue, if we move, could it be moved to 7:45 to give an additional leeway?
I mean, is it okay if I come late? Like, to the board, I'll drive as fast as I can, but I might be like.
I think if there's the levy vote, that's the
Yeah.
big thing. So I'd rather have you 15 minutes and you drive safely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, that would work fine.
If that works
like,
for you.
I probably, yeah, I'm just trying to think of the timing. I think I should be able to make it by 7:30, 7:45.
Okay, would, Dr. Filipiak, would that be a problem with admin for 7:45?
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll plan on that then, Wednesday, December 17th at 7:45, to try to accommodate everybody. Great, okay. The others are we're going to review policy 7180 and 7290 as far as the required presentations or requirements. 7180 is the requirements in item 11, and then 7290 is a prevention program. Just an overview at a future board meeting, and it doesn't have to be December. It can be one of the future ones. And also, we'll look at Board Policy 5125 as a future agenda item. And again, those don't have to be, we could do that after the first of the year, right? Okay.
We'll see how heavy the December meeting is, and if possible, we'll try and cover it then.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else have any?
I did also, under other items, want to show appreciation. It is Board Appreciation Month for the month of November, and so People probably don't realize just how many hours it put into and reading the board packets and being prepared, and then nights like tonight, being able to have the conversations you do to make sure that we've got the direction that we need. So thank you so much for all those countless hours, and I know it's an unpaid position, and you do it out of your love for the community and wanting to make a difference in the lives of the kids here, and so we really appreciate your time and effort.
Well, thank you. It's a good board to be on, right? All right, that will bring us now then to item 11, which is, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, performance, discipline, compensation, or dismissal of employees, student matter, and pending litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, could we, got him? Okay.
So,
I need a
roll call for that? Okay. Mr. Nagler?
Aye.
Mr. Helderly?
Aye.
Ms. Foster?
Aye.
Ms. Novacell? Ms. DiDomenico?
Aye.
Ms. Sims is aye, and Ms. Allman.
Aye, thank you. We will adjourn to closed session at 10:26. Thank you.